who were sitting out there. I know that one man called me last night and was talking to me about it, and he said it was, in his opinion, a good thing they escorted the young man out, because some of the Brewer fans out there were pretty hot about it. So it was one of those moments, and it has been well documented and resolved, and in the ultimate did not affect the outcome of the ball game, thankfully. Brian Downing steps in, the playoff hitting and the seasonal average reflected there, as Moose Haas now faces a big moment in his baseball career. Pitching with his and his teammates back to the wall. Game 4 is underway. The first pitch is ball 1. I think one of the important things we'll want to watch here with Moose Haas is to see whether or not he can get ahead of the hitters.
Well, he has excellent control, Keith. He has a normal pitches. He has a fastball, curveball, slider, and he kind of throws a pitch that is not a forkball, because he really doesn't have that big of hands. It's kind of a split-fingered fastball, similar to the one that Bruce Sutter throws. It's not quite as effective. Not too many pitchers can throw that kind of pitch, but throws a lot of strikes, but it's given up a lot more hits. 232 hits in 193 innings.
Well, he's coming at Brian Downing with some smoke. And Haas now has the advantage at 1 ball and 2 strikes.
I'm sure he has to be a little bit nervous until he gets a hitter or 2 under his belt.
Well, you always are. I mean, I've always been, when I've gone out there, you never know what's going to happen. You warm up with good stuff, and you don't know if you can carry it with you out to the mound.
Little check swing pop. Jimmy Gantner, the second baseman, calls off Cecil Cooper and makes the catch for the first out of the ball game. Finally, the thousands who came and endured the rain have something to cheer about. You see that Haas is among the leaders in control, in that he has issued less than 2 walks per 9 innings. But sometimes the other side of it jumps up when you start looking at it in that context, the fact that his lifetime ERA is above 4. He's a little too fat with it. We've got a balloon floating around out on the field as Rod Carew steps in for the California Angels. They're getting the balloon off the field, and immediately Paul Molitor comes right in on the grass at third base.
They're taking the bunt away from him right there.
To Carew, whose hand that he injured at the close of the season is much better today. And we saw him swing the bat much better yesterday. Off goes the 2 balls and no strikes on Carew. There's Buzz Bavese, the Executive Vice President and General Manager of the California Angels. Gene Autry sitting there with him with an Angel cap on. Not a pleasant day to be sitting outside, but they're there. 2 balls and a strike now.
I was talking to Moose the second day in California, and I asked him how he could give up that many hits, and he, just as you said a lot of times he just concentrates more on throwing strikes than really making good pitches, and he throws the ball down the middle when he gets behind, and that's where the hits come from.
That pitch was fouled away into the crowd. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on Carew.
Well, I think he'll come right down the middle, ahead or behind, Jim, when he's giving up hits like that. Seems to be throwing good. Threw a pitch or 2 by Downing.
That's high and tight. And so now Haas goes to a full count of 3 balls and 2 strikes. And immediately you think about how cold the feet are getting for the outfielders. A lot of 3-2 or 2-2 counts on batters means those outfielders are standing around for a long time. That's cued foul, left side.
I watched Molitor blow on his hands a few times already, too, and I think that'll be noticeable as the game progresses.
It's a good day for the pitcher, as we talked. The pitcher is the one that's constantly moving around. You have the wind blowing in straight in, right in the batter's eyes. There's Paul Molitor. It's about one of the few ways you can keep your hands warm when you're out on the field. Either that, put it in the back pocket.
3-2 pitch to Carew. Ball 4. California's first base runner is Rod Carew. Reggie Jackson will come to the plate.
Well, the wind is blowing in strong. These people can hit the ball out of the ballpark, but it's going to take everything I think you got on the right part of the bat, because it looks, I've forgotten what the weatherman said, but it looks to be almost 20 miles an hour to me.
Almost up to 25 miles per hour. So. Good day for the pitchers.
I said the same thing. Watch it be 16-14. But it should be the best day for the pitcher. Bob Clear, the pitching coach of the California Angels, agreed with that. I talked to him about Bamberger making a statement.
First pitch to Jackson. Ricochets away. Foul ball. Strike one. He started to go and didn't get his bat out of there in time. Rough day for Reg yesterday. He struck out 3 times.
That pitch was in on his hands. We'll have to wait and see if they're going to stay in there all day. Jim Palmer, the veteran that he is, could probably try to make Reggie hit the left field with that wind blowing in today. What do you think?
Well, I've always tried to pitch Reggie away, and I think in 14 years he's hit 3 home runs, so I'm pretty happy with that success ratio. And 2 of them were left field in the playoff in 1970.
That's exactly right, and that wind might keep something in.
That pitch is up, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike.
You think he's overthrowing right now?
Well, yes, but you have a tendency to do that against Reggie. You just don't throw any mediocre fastballs out over the plate. We saw what happens to those. Vukovich threw him a high fastball, and he hit it 450 feet in the second game. And right now, I think what Moose Haas realizes is that he has to give Milwaukee the same kind of performance that Don Sutton did yesterday. Shut him out for 6 or 7 innings, hope that his ball club can score some runs. And possibly, if he needs some help, we saw what Pete Ladd could do yesterday. Fine performance.
1-1 pitch to Jackson. Fouled away into the stands.
Reggie told himself that pitch was up on the strike zone. It doesn't look like he wants to do it. If we can get a replay on there right after the pitch, you can see Reggie. You can see Reggie with his hand up around his neck saying, now, after he fouls it off, watch Reggie, if you possibly can. The hand comes up. Stay with him right there. He wants to lay off of that pitch. And that one's it.
And Hall shoots him down for the second out. Carew is at first base, and now Fred Lynn will come to the plate, and the home folks love that. That's a good pitch. Howes went right at him, and Diana Hawes, the missus, enjoyed it. Moose just stuck it right in there. Now let's see what he can do with Freddie Lynn, who is the hottest hitter for either ball club in the series, 7 for 11.
Just as quiet as they come and keeps rolling along.
Carew over at first base with reasonably good speed has the only stolen base in the 1982 American League Championship Series.
Looks dry enough to run if the players want to at this time. If the rain keeps coming down, that dirt might get a little heavy.
We're in the top of the first inning. Moose Haas on the mound. He got Downing to pop out. A little looper to the second baseman. Walked Carew, struck out Reggie Jackson, and is pitching now to Fred Lynn. Just off the outside corner. Ball 1.
You think this is a good running situation? You have the hottest hitter. You have a situation where it's tough to hit the ball out of the ballpark. You have a guy that can steal some bases. I wouldn't think that I would mind having Freddie Lynn if Carew was thrown out leading off next inning.
It's a good running situation. Real good. Of course, you know me. I don't like to run on 2-0 and get a runner thrown out on a high outside fastball, which would bring the count to 3-0. But we've had many people in the American League run against us on 2-0. You never can tell.
Carew creeping off.
Today's not the day for it, but I like my hitter to look for a pitch he can hit out the park in this situation. Forget about running. And then if it goes to 2-1, you can try it on the next pitch. Moose Hotz evidently thinks he might run.
Two down. Carew on first. Top of the first. And a strike. 2-1. Now you want him to go.
Now would be the time that I would think that he's going, if he's going to go. Of course, you get to run 3 on 3 and 1 also. But Jim's got a point that you can't look for too many 3-run homers today, I don't think, with that wind blowing like that.
Obviously, the Brewers think he's going to go.
Well, the one important thing for Moose Hotz is not to lose his concentration, and I would rather get rid of the ball quickly and throw a strike and keep the ball in the ballpark than to keep throwing over there when Rod Carew does not have an exceptionally big lead.
He has not moved off much at any time.
And during the season was thrown out 17 times out of 27 attempts. So
does not go. Lynn brings and fouls it back out of play. 2-2 now, the count on Fred Lynn. He finished strong. And it's been a tough out in the series.
Well, he's always been a tough out. He said today it was a typical day of Boston weather.
2-2. Carew goes. They pitch out. They got him hung up. Took it down to the second baseman. Running back, Cooper. Cooper tags him, and he's out. So they pitch out, and they hang him up, and they get him at first base. So Fred Lynn will lead off the top of the next inning. So after 1/2 inning of play at County Stadium in Milwaukee, we have no score with the California Angels coming up, and another look at the inning-ending play. You see the pitch out. Carew now is on the clothesline. He is sitting on the fence and no place to go. Simmons, running the ball out, finally decided he'd better get it in motion on the base paths. Did, gave it to Cooper, and it goes 1-2, 6-3 if you'd like the scoring. Coming up with the bottom of the first in a moment. We're going now to the bottom of the first inning as the Milwaukee Brewers will come to the plate with Paul Molitor, Robin Yount, and Cecil Cooper as the top of the order. Some of the NCAA football games that we had planned to bring you today are going to be getting underway within the hour. And we will join any of those games that we can as soon as our baseball game is over here in Milwaukee. And we'll keep you up to date as best we can. The Brewers batting order: Molitor leads off, Robin Yount bats second, Cecil Cooper third, Ted Simmons cleanup, Gorman Thomas batting 5, Don Money 6, Mark Brohard hitting in the number 7 spot, Charlie Moore batting 8, and Jimmy Gantner will be the 9th hitter. There's the top of the Milwaukee order. Two very important people in getting the Milwaukee machinery rolling. The defensively for California, Carew at first base, Glitch at second base, Tim Foley the short, stop, Doug DeCincy at third, broken nose and all, and a pair of black eyes. Downing in left, Lynn in center, Jackson in right, back at the plate, Bob Boone on the mound, Tommy John. Now let's go back to the line that was used and has been used every time Tommy John goes out there. And I guess it's as good a way of saying it as any. If you want him, you better get him early.
Well, that's true, and he pitched an excellent game, a 7-hitter on Tuesday night, won 8-3, got in trouble early on a 2-run home run to Gorman Thomas. Did not have command of a sinker, and when we watch Tommy John pitching on TV, on the monitor you'll see the ball, and in TV the ball will run away from the right-handers. He did not have good control of that pitch on Tuesday night, and he went to the breaking ball, was very successful. And as most veteran pitchers, and there you see the breaking ball on the first pitch, he's able to change midstream, gets a little bit of trouble, doesn't have his number 1 pitch working, goes to number 2, and as it turned out, his team came back and got him 8 runs and had an excellent ball game.
He's gone to 2 balls and no strikes on Paul Molitor, who had a 2-run home run yesterday. He is 4 for 12 in the championship series. And Molitor, who is a notoriously first ball hitter, showing patience at the plate now as he has taken 3, and they've all been outside the strike zone. And Steve Palermo, calling the balls and strikes today, is considered one of the best in the American League. 3-1 now.
He's also considered one of the tighter strike zones as far as a pitcher's umpire. There are a lot of umpires that differ. If I had to characterize Steve Palermo, and I'm 1 in 6 lifetime, I think he is probably the best umpire in the league, but doesn't give you a lot of extra. In other words, you have to throw the ball over the plate. You have to throw quality strikes to get strikes called.
And if you're going to get to Tommy John, I think you have to have that patience that Ball had on the first couple of pitches.
DeCinces came down the line, turned around, and looked back at the third base umpire, Larry Barnett, where he had gloved the ball. And Barnett nods his head, and Molitor is coming back. Doug did not make a throw because he gloved the ball outside the foul line.
Ball hit right on the edge of the grass and took a direct right turn as we look at the screen. It looks like it's going to be fair. It's going to turn right over to Doug's right. It almost got by him, but it wouldn't have made any difference because it was in foul territory.
So Molitor comes back now with a count of 3 balls and 2 strikes. Three-two pitch. And finally walked. Jim, you want to continue on your point. I think what you were saying is that simply Palermo's strike zone smaller than the others. You'll get a black call on some umpires with him you won't.
Exactly, and it makes it a little bit more difficult if you're a pitcher, but that's something that you know because he's consistent, and that's all you want from an umpire, consistency. I mean, I prefer umpires with huge strike zones, but that's not the way it is.
Well, what if they're consistent in not calling your curveball all day? Just won't call a break.
That's maybe why you're 1 in 6 sometimes.
Milwaukee Brewers here in the home half of the first inning with a leadoff man aboard Molitor, and he can move it. He has good speed. Robin Yount at the plate right now, 3 for 10, and due to let go, I would think. His bat has been relatively quiet. That's rolled on the ground. Second baseman, throw over to first base. They're going to get 2 here if they handle the ball correctly. Rich held up Molitor. Now Carew running him down, and they're going to tag him out. And it's going to wind up an elongated double play.
The main thing about that, I saw Tommy John do what Jim Palmer does. He could have deflected that ball. The minute it came off the bat, he went after it, decided to let it go to his second baseman. I wonder if we can get a shot of that. Now watch Tommy make a move and then let it go. He could have went after that ball and might have deflected it. It takes a veteran pitcher to be able to do that. Not the prettiest rundown play, Jim, in the world.
Well, you should have really a maximum of 2 throws. They do get the job done, just takes a little bit longer.
Also increases the risk of a mistake when that many people are handling the ball that many times. I think it wound up 4-3-6, 3-5. That's the way they eventually wound up with it. 2 out, and Cecil Cooper fouls it off to the right side.
I wondered how you can tell right off the bat whether that ball's going to go through the middle when you let it go like that.
Well, first of all, I know where my fielders are. A lot of times you'll just see a ball that you know is going to be hit at one of your fielders, and I figure that even though I think of myself as being a fairly good fielder, I know that usually the guys behind me are better.
Cooper wrists it up in the air. Out in that wet area, Brian Dowding comes sliding in, slides underneath Tim Foley as the California shortstop makes the catch over the shoulder. And so the Milwaukee Brewers get their leadoff man aboard, but they lose him on a DP. We've played 1, and there is no score. Well, it's a day for wool hats and umbrellas. But we are gambling with the weather here in Milwaukee. Delayed for, it seemed like forever. They finally got the ball game going. And uppermost in everybody's mind is to play the 9 innings. Freddie Lynn, who was at the plate when Carew was picked off, he will lead it off. Don Baylor will follow, and then Doug DeCinces. Pitch out. That kind of get your attention on Wheeler?
Very much so. Pitching out 2-2. If the runner doesn't go, you got your pitcher in a hole to the number 4 hitter in a lineup 3-2. But evidently there was a little secret knowledge there, and I think that possibly the Milwaukee Ball Club might be shifting a sign or two as far or an indicator.
Moose Haas, top of the second inning against Brett Lynn. 1 ball, no strikes. Now goes to 2 ball and no strikes. He's been high with both of them. With that one, he's been high, as a matter of fact, with quite a few pitches today. But
well, that can come from overthrowing. Moose Haas, back in '78, was probably one of the most promising young pitchers. And there we see a line drive just hooking foul. And he tore a flexor muscle in his elbow. It's similar to the injury that Raleigh Fingers has. It's a very difficult injury to come back from. He tore it. Raleigh, I believe, has torn some fibers. There's a little bit of difference. And he had just come off back, I think he did it in Baltimore. He had just come off a 13 strikeout effort against the Yankees, and he came down to Baltimore with only 3 days rest, tried to pitch, and ended up tearing his elbow. But not exceptionally hard thrower as far as being overpowering, but he does have a good live fastball, 85 maybe to 88 miles per hour, somewhere in there, and then he has the other pitches to go with it.
Count is now 2 balls and 2 strikes. Well, if Gene Mauch shares your opinion, Earl Weaver, that Milwaukee may have picked up.
No, vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah.
I might have said it wrong.
They will flip it around. They'll just simply change it because they would sense it as quickly as you, I'm sure. So the 2-2 pitch. Strike 3 call. Well, that was right on the numbers, and Fred Lynn's gone looking and not happy with it. It walks away without saying anything.
I thought it was up by the strike zone, but right at the letters, it could be a strike.
Don Baylor will come up now. The designated hitter for California. 6 runs batted in, 5 of them in 1 game. 3 for 9. The American League in game-winning hits in 1982, and Haas misses inside and low for ball 1.
Looks like they're trying to go in with Baylor again. It seems to have been the pattern throughout the series up to now.
Well, that's where you have to pitch him if you want to get him out consistently. Yesterday, the double he hit off Don Sutton was a curveball that Don didn't really spot very well. Got on the inner half of the plate, and Don hit it right over the third base bag for a double late in the ballgame.
That's in the hole. Molitor one-hands it and throws him out for the second out. Coming up at 8 Eastern time tonight, Game 2 in the National League Championship Series between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Atlanta Braves.
Here you're going to see an excellent play going to his left. They say it's a reflex position. The ball kind of short hops him. And again, they've kind of speculated on his abilities over at third with a lot of errors, 32 on the season, but I wouldn't rate him as a bad third baseman. I think it's just something he's going to have to get used to.
There was quick movement on that play. He moved in a hurry.
Well, he's a good athlete, no doubt about that.
Doug DeCense, hitting over 300 on the regular season, 30 home runs. The lights are on. The sky is gray. But since we started the game, there has been no rain. It's fouled away.
It eliminates the shadow problems and ball being lost in the sun.
Down on the Angel bench during the rain delay, they, to a man, said how difficult it was to see yesterday. Not detracting any means from what the kind of game that Don Sutton pitched, but talked to Bobby Grich, who struck out 3 times. And if you read Reggie's comments in the paper and both down on the bench, they just had trouble really seeing the ball, and the quality of the pitches that Sutton was making made it very difficult.
Well, if you couldn't see it very well, I wouldn't want to stand in there against Ladd either.
Don Sutton, who was the winning pitcher, Ladd got the save yesterday, and Peter Ladd, I think, to a lot of people, has been a surprise in this series.
Yes, he has.
Sutton and Ladd struck out 11 Angels yesterday. Oz now goes to 2 balls and 1 strike on Doug DeCense. Doug at the plate with his nose broken for the 6th time, but no particular pain. And he's playing. In fact, he stayed in the game yesterday after it was broken by a ricochet foul off home plate. Struck him in the face. A 2-1 pitch from Haas. 2-2. California batting in the top of the second inning.
There we saw an excellent slider. Haas, who's been behind almost every Angel hitter, and here you'll see the 2-1 low slider. You see the ball just break underneath Doug's bat. Pretty good pitch when you're behind in the count.
Looks like he took something off of it to me, too.
2-2 pitch. Looking up. Doug turns and looks to Palermo to ask if whether or not it was in the strike zone. Doesn't matter. He's gone, and California retired in the top of the second. A look down onto the playing surface of County Stadium from atop the roof. And what with the wind blowing today and the inclement conditions, that is a courageous gentleman manning that camera up on top. And now we're told we have a little difficulty reading it from here, but the rain has started. We're getting a little shower again, not very hard, but a light little shower as Tommy John comes out to pitch the bottom of the second inning to Ted Simmons, Roman Thomas, and Don Money. And the first pitch to Simmons, bends in there for a strike. Strike two.
I don't know if Lee McPhail has passed the authority on to the umpires to call for the tarp or if he's going to keep it himself and stop the game from the boxes.
Inside, 1 ball and 2 strikes now on Ted Simmons. Well, I would imagine any decision made by the umpires probably would be in consultation with the president of the league. John goes outside, 2-2.
There's Lee McPhail right there, and you're right, Keith. I don't think they can do anything without consulting them.
Too much at stake. 2-2. And Ted fouls it away. Boone coming back for it. Ball was not in the air very high, and Boone couldn't get to it. Kind of interesting watching Bob Boone come out this morning and loosen up. He took a pose in front of the dugout, and he stood there in this particular pose for, gosh, I guess almost 15 minutes. And he just went through a stretching series, and he just absolutely ignored everything that was going on around him until he had finished. 2-2 pitch, bounces to the backstop.
Well, that's the strength trainer for the Philadelphia Phillies, Guff Huffling, who has worked with Steve Carlton, and it's one of the martial arts type of stretching where Mike Witt was saying while he was going through that he took 10 minor leaguers and some of the players and killed them in spring training.
John bounces another one up to the plate, and after being out in front of Ted Simmons, he loses it on a walk, and that is the second walk that Tommy John has issued in the ball game.
He went down and in, tried to get that slider in under the hands that he used so successfully the first game out in California.
Tommy takes a walk behind the mound and visits with himself on the circumstances as Gorman Thomas comes to the plate. Thomas hit a 2-run home run off Tommy John in that first game. Shot it down into the left field corner at Anaheim Stadium. That's the only base hit that Gorman Thomas has had. In the complete game that Tommy pitched on Tuesday night in California, he walked only 1 in the whole ball game. And Gorman Thomas slides up the bat handle a little bit. There's a whole lot of room between home plate and where Doug DeCincy literally is forced to play the power hitter.
Well, as we said, almost everybody in this lineup, the Brewer lineup, will bunt. Even a guy with 39 home runs like Gorman Thomas, if he sees a third baseman back, will take advantage of it. And the Brewers realize for them to be successful, and there you see Doug playing about a step behind third base, if they can get out in front, it just makes it a little bit easier not only for their pitchers, but I think it's a little bit easier to be more aggressive.
To reset the circumstances for you, if California can win today, they will be the American League champions. They lead in the best-of-5 series, 2 games to 1. Milwaukee wins, will go to Game 5.
you saw that statistic on the board, 286 with runners on base and 216 without. I think that's true with most home run hitters. They are trying to hit that solo home run when nobody's on, and when somebody's on, they try to make a little bit more of contact, a little more concentration.
Simmons does not have great speed at first base. In fact, he doesn't even hardly have good speed at first base. So yesterday, remember, he challenged Reggie Jackson, and he went from first to third, and he made it.
Let's set up the third run and gave Don Sutton a 3-run cushion instead of a 2-run cushion. That could make a big difference in a ball game.
DeCinces gets to move back now at third base. See, the purpose of that bunt there was to bring Doug in, and he did bring him in for three or four steps for a few pitches.
Thomas swings and misses in a breaking pitch, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Keith Jackson, along with Earl Weaver, struck him out, with retiring manager of the Baltimore Orioles, Earl Weaver, and the Baltimore right-hander, Jim Palmer. So Gorman Thomas goes down again and becomes the first strikeout for Tommy John, and Gorman continues now with 1 base hit in 11 trips to the plate. That's a home run. Don Money now will step up, the designated hitter. Mark Brohard moves to the on-deck circle. He's a right-handed hitter and playing left field today in place of Ben Ogilvy, who has bruised ribs. The Money is in. The first pitch is in there for a strike. I guess what you have here with Ted Simmons on first base and Don Money at home plate, you may have the 2 slowest runners in the American League.
You got to comment on that, Earl?
Oh, you have to comment on that, Jim.
There's a strike.
Well, Simmons doesn't run well, but I think what we see with the Brewers lineup is, and you can comment on this, Earl, is that you have a situation where Tommy John walks the first hitter, and you have a strikeout man, and yet very valuable to your lineup because he can drive in runs and hit home runs. He doesn't advance runners very well, and now you have a guy that's a double play man if he hits a ground ball.
Yes, you do, and Money has really been bothered with his legs, and Keith was right in saying probably at this time of the year, Don might be running. He's running poorly, there's no doubt about it, and it might be close to being one of the slowest people in the league. I don't know if they'd run Simmons in this situation or not. I don't believe they did against us all year. One of the reasons that Don's a pull hitter. Ordinarily, he does not go to right field that well.
Another ball bouncing at the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes now to count on Don Money, the designated hitter. Bob Boone, a fine defensive catcher and handler of pitching.
Here you see the low breaking ball. It looks like it hits the corner of the play, but Boone, knowing that when you throw a breaking ball, the spin usually comes back the other way, doesn't overreact, and he's able to get his body in front of it.
The backstop, Simmons goes to second. Wild pitch.
Like the first 3 innings in California, either he's trying to be a little too fine right at this point, or he hasn't established that real good control that he showed us the last 6 innings after he got those runs in the first game.
Well, Milwaukee, in the bottom of the first inning, had Molitor walk, and then an unusual double play resulted, and they took him off the bases. Ted Simmons walked to lead the bottom of the second inning. Gorman Thomas struck out, and now with a count of 2-2 on that wild pitch, Simmons is at second with Money at the plate. And it's inside.
Looks like he's being mighty fine to me right now, Jim.
Well, he might not be able to make the good pitches. In the ball game on Tuesday night, he only walked 1 batter. He's already doubled that and is on his way to maybe tripling it by having a 3-2 count on Don Money. He's trying to make good pitches, and the one luxury that Tommy John has being a sinker ball pitcher, his hit pitches that are bad pitches usually get hit for maybe doubles instead of home runs.
Well, he's walked Money now. That's the third. And it will bring up Mark Brohard, who was drafted by Milwaukee out of the California Angels organization in 1979. He was with Milwaukee most of '82, a little bit of time at midseason up in the AAA ball with the Vancouver Canadians. He can hit with power.
Good fastball hitter, and the way we've always try to pitch him in Baltimore is a lot of breaking balls.
Brewers is up for the first time in the series.
And there you saw the breaking ball in the first pitch.
Ted Simmons at second base for Milwaukee. And Don Money at first base. Both having walked. One out. Bottom of the second inning. No score. That's foul. Took it right into his hands.
Keeps throwing that breaking ball in and down, Jimmy. It seems to be going for the same spot, pitch after pitch after pitch.
See that TJ has been very stingy in giving free passes to first base in his postseason career. That pitch misses. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. He's thrown 33 pitches in the ball game, 17 of them out of the strike zone.
That's not Tommy John.
So the 2-1 pitch coming to Brohard. He rolls it on the ground up the middle. It's a base hit to center field. It's rolling slow enough that Simmons will come on and score. And Money goes to third. Ball gets away, going toward the wall. Here comes Money to the plate. The throw not in time. They throw it away. And Brohard keeps on going to third. The Angels kick it around. And the Milwaukee Brewers get 2 runs. And the overthrow bouncing up into the crowd will bring in the 3rd run. So, look what we have here.
Bobby Grich is now arguing with the umpire at second base that the runner that they allowed to score had not reached second base. It's an intervening throw, and placement of the runner on the bases in the judgment of the umpire determines where he will wind up when the play is finished.
The ball hit Money in the back and skipped away. DeCinces couldn't get anything on the throw, having to come over in a muddy area of the field. Here's the throw. You see it gets away. It's not even near the target. Well over Boone's head, and then bounces up into the stand. And so the Milwaukee home folks are whooping it up as Brohard gets into the lineup and creates chaos for California.
It never fails.
All right, I'll give you the scoring in a minute as Charlie Moore steps in and bunts at third. DeCinces plays him well and gets him at first base. Just look at it from way up on the roof, and you can see what amounts to a virtual melee going on here. First the base hit.
Takes a long time for it to stop. Freddie Lynn made a halfway decent throw, but again the ball hit Money and caromed off. Doug was on it quickly, but I really don't think myself that he had a shot, and he made an off-balance throw at home plate. And what it wound up was allowing another runner to score.
Pitches high in the air, down the left field line. Downing going hard and bangs into the tarp. He hit it hard. He was going full bore when he banged into that tarpaulin that's rolled up there. But there's enough cushion that the big guy runs away from it. He's tough.
He shows no fear. He will not slow down a step. He ran into walls twice against us this year.
The ball just eludes him, and he had no chance to stop. In a way, the tarp may have saved him, because if he had gone into the fence that hard, he had to hurt himself. Well, it's true. Let's go back to the previous play now. It is a single for Brohard and a run batted in, then an error on Lynn's throw to third, an error on DeCinces' throw to the plate. So you have an error, a single, a run batted in, an error on the center fielder, and an error on the third baseman. That ball is hit by Gantner to Bobby Grich, who throws him out at first base. So the side is retired, but the Milwaukee Brewers put 3 runs on the scoreboard in the bottom of the second inning and lead 3-0. We go down to the top of the third inning with Milwaukee leading California 3-0. And to recap it for you, Simmons walked, second walk of the game by John. Struck out Thomas. Money walked. Brohard singled up the middle to score Simmons from second base after John had wild pitched him to second base. And then an error on a throw by Lynn, an error on a throw by DeCinces. 3 runs across, only one of them earned. Now for California. You have Bobby Grich standing at the plate, to be followed by Tim Foley and Bob Boone, as Moose Haas has a 3-run pusher.
I think they found out first that Lee McPhail has turned this ball game over to the umpires, and they are solely responsible for when play would be halted should it start raining again.
2 balls and no strikes for Grich. Again, go back to the point we've stressed innumerable times, so important to keep the other team under control in the inning following your scoring. Grich puts it in the air to the right side. Charlie Moore coming to the line. Wynn's got it. Charlie runs it down. Catches it in foul ground. He had to go a long way.
The wind definitely blew that ball.
Buddy looks secure. I see no one slipping.
No, and I don't think the conditions had anything to do with the last play when the ball was being thrown all over. In fact, with a wet ball, Freddie Lynn made a pretty good throw. Unfortunately, it just hit the runner in the back.
Tim Foley stands at the plate, and Timmy takes a pitch high for ball 1. That was up a little too. 2 balls and no strikes.
That's the second pitch to Foley that Moose Haas has questioned. And that's the point with Steve Palermo behind her. You have to throw the ball below the belt. Some umpires in the American League, that might be a strike, especially the ones with the outside protectors.
There's a strike.
But we've seen in this game how walks can hurt you. The 2 walks last inning scored.
I think if Tommy John had been over probably backing up third, though, he might have gotten out of there with only 1 run. But maybe he did not back up at third. That's hit in the air to the left side. Shortstop Robin Yount sort of tiptoes through that wet area, and he makes the catch. 2 down.
I think on the backup play, Keith, your position as a pitcher is to go somewhere between home and third if there's going to be a play at either base. And what happened was, it was obvious, at least to me, that there wasn't going to be a play at home, and then Tommy neglected to go behind third base, and if he had, he would have been there possibly to catch that carom off Don Money's leg, and we would have only maybe had a 1-run inning.
There's a strike to Bob Boone. 2 down, nobody aboard, and Milwaukee leading here in the top of the 3rd inning, 3-0. On a breaking pitch, and it's 2 strikes. I remember in the ball game against Milwaukee Sunday when you threw the ball away at first base. As the play developed, you eventually wound up backing up at third base
and catching the ball, which was an overthrow.
Yes.
I hate to say something nice, but he's a lot quicker than Tommy John, moving around on the ball field.
A lot younger, 2 years, 3 years.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Bob Boone.
What you call a purpose pitch. The count's 0-2. They're probably going to try to go away with Boone now.
And he punches it in the air foul down the right side. Charlie Moore going, and has no chance as the ball is about 3 rows back.
Ball to right field seems to be getting up in the air and making a complete right turn.
You know, it's amazing, but this ballpark is virtually full. I guess everybody was sitting out in their automobiles waiting until the rain stopped and the game started, and in the game.
Well, when I came up from the dugouts during the rain delay, I was surprised that the stands did not look filled, but they were all underneath, and they were either having their brats or their worst. If you're Al Michaels, that's what he calls them.
Ball 2 balls and 2 strikes.
There's only 1 hit in this ball game so far, and I just can't feel that there will be a lot of hard hit balls with that wind blowing in and cold conditions.
2-2 pitch to Boone. Inside and low. He reached a little bit for that one, and it's 3 balls and 2 strikes. I got to tell that story on Al Michaels. He came in here to Milwaukee to do a ball game. He went over here to the press room, and around town, if you want a bratwurst, you ask for a brat, right? Al Al goes in and asks for worse. They're never going to let him forget it. Bouncer to Robin Yount at shortstop. And it goes in out. So, Moose House does his job. He gets California in order after 2.5. 3-0 Brewers.
This is Tim Lampley in New York. Very quickly, some football scores from around the country. Alabama is leading Penn State 21-7 in the third quarter. Boston College and West Virginia tied up in the third quarter. North Carolina has a 17-7 lead over Wake Forest in the fourth quarter. Purdue and Illinois, it's 24-20 in the second quarter. Wisconsin leads Ohio State at Columbus 6-0. And Michigan leads Michigan State 31-3. Back to Keith Jackson.
All right, Jim, that's a bit of an eye-opening score out of Birmingham, isn't it? This ball game getting underway just about 2 hours late. And for those of you expecting to see college football, we will join any of those games we can, if time allows, as soon as the baseball game is done, this being Game 4 of the American League Championship Series. And we will make every effort to bring you the scores as best we can, working our way through the ball game. It is now the top of the order for the Milwaukee Brewers in the home half of the third inning. They lead 3-0. Molitor, Yount, Cooper. Molitor walked his first time. Tommy John in the ball game has walked 3 and 2 scored.
I think John's got to say to himself now, they're going to have to hit me to hurt me. I think he'll start going at him.
Shot to the sensei at third, comes up with it after the ball rolls through him. In the meantime, Molitor with his speed is aboard. Ball went just underneath the sensei. It was a hard hit, one bouncer, and he didn't quite get all of it to come up with it.
Scooted right off to the edge of the grass.
Well, that's one of the disadvantages of having to play a guy like Paul Molitor in front of the third base bag. And there you can see the ball hit almost where the cut of the grass is. It's one of the most difficult plays a third baseman has to make. If you don't catch the ball cleanly, and if you don't keep the ball in front of you, usually if the guy is quick, and Molitor is, he's going to beat the ball out.
It is an error on DeCinces. So the leadoff man is aboard for the third successive inning for the Milwaukee Brewers, and Robin Yount throws the bat at it and spoils it back in the crowd for strike one.
It looks to me like California might know something about Milwaukee's signs. I saw Molitor take a quick step as if to go, and Robin threw the bat at the ball. The hit and run could have possibly been on.
Well, that certainly indicated by Yount's action.
And this is what Milwaukee does when they get ahead. They become a little bit more aggressive. Yount was 3 for 10 going into today's ball game, even though they're 3 infield hits.
Molitor goes, pitch is high and away, throw by Boone, they got him. So Bob Boone continues his remarkable string this year of refusing the base runners. He's nailed more than 50% of them in the 1982 season, which is a remarkable statistic.
He didn't get a very good jump, and Tommy John, from his first movement from the stretch to the time he lets go of the ball, is real quick, and he gives the catcher a good chance to do just what Bob Boone did right then.
So Molitor is thrown out, and Robin Yount stands in with a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Up the middle, here you see that a big play happened just in front of that, because that's a base hit for Robin Yount, and if Molitor had been successful, he scored.
Well, I think the big thing on throwing a runner out, as Earl said, is obviously the catcher has a good arm, and the thing that Gene Mauch told me, and what Paul Molitor, I guess, once again said, was that Tommy John gets rid of the ball quickly, and that's the one thing that Gene Mauch said his entire staff worked on. If it did not affect their stuff, he wanted to speed up the amount of time it took for the pitcher to release the ball. And obviously, the quicker you do this, the better chance you give your catcher to throw out the runners. And Bob Boone has a quick release, a good arm, and his pitching staff is well schooled in getting rid of the ball.
With 1 out, and Robin Yount on first base. Here is Cecil Cooper. And that's cued foul on the third base side for strike 1. And you can see just out across the city skylines, some very promising brightening of the sky. So maybe we will be able to play our ball game and escape.
At this time, it looks like a good decision by Lee McPhail to start it.
Cecil Cooper hits it up in the air, out into center field. Fred Lynn comes in. Wynn keeps bringing the ball in because it is blowing quite briskly straight in toward home plate. So you've got 2 out now for Ted Simmons. Robin Yount on first base. Getting 3 runs in the bottom of the second inning off Tommy John. And the pitch to Simmons, strike.
I really don't think they'll be testing Bob Boone anymore as far as the straight steal is concerned. They might use the hit and run or the run and hit. 2 separate plays in baseball.
What's the difference?
The hit and run, the hitter is forced to swing at the ball. On the run and hit, the runner will try to get a good jump. If it's a strike, the hitter will swing. If not, you take your chances as to whether the catcher can throw him out or not.
99% of the people don't separate it on that basis, so do they?
Well, no, I wouldn't believe so.
Oh, that's a bullet. It's over the back and foul. Oh, boy. Simmons drilled it, and it just missed being fair.
Simmons thinks it's fair. He's looking down at third base.
See it. Say, that ball was fair. Look at it. It's foul. No question about it. So Ted back to the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 down. Yount at first. Molitor aboard on the Sensei's error. Thrown out. Trying to go to second. Rich at second. Over to Fuller, the shortstop covering at second to get Yount coming down. So the Brewers are turned away. And after 3 innings of play, it's 3-0 Milwaukee. Looking down from camera aboard a helicopter, and that's got to be a pretty lumpy ride up there today, but they're hanging in. You see it's just a gray, overcast, wet day with the lights burning brightly here at County Stadium. And the Milwaukee Brewers, the home club, leading by a score of 3-0 as California comes to the plate in the top of the 4th inning. It's the top of the order. Second time around against Moose Haas, Brian Downing, Rod Carew, and Reggie Jackson. And Downing, first time up, had a check swing pop-up to the second baseman, Jimmy Gantner. He takes a strike from Moose Haas. The only wobble that Moose Haas has had so far in the ball game was a walk to Rod Carew, who was then involved in a double play.
The interesting thing with Brian Downing, he's not wearing his glasses today. I wonder if that has anything to do with the rain or the wind.
I'm sure it does. Let me correct myself on Carew. It was not a double play. They pitched out on 2-2 and threw him out in a rundown. Yeah, I would think that, in fact, I know that he goes to the contacts rather than play with glasses under these kind of circumstances. But even contacts, Jim, with a high mist and a windy day, it's a bother. Bryant swings, pops it up on the left side. It's drifting toward the foul line, going into the foul area, and dropping into the crowd. And Robin Yount and Paul Molitor splashing over there to have a look at it. That is the wettest area of the field right there. But when they ran through it, it looked like they were able to get pretty good traction. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Nobody out as Downing leads off in the top of the 4th inning for California. The 1-2 to the plate. Strike 3 call.
just going to see a good low and away fastball right on the corner. It's a pitcher's pitch. Tough pitch to handle.
Nobody's going to hit that one.
Now, Rod Carew. With one out. And the Brewers leading 3-0. And the pitch misses. The ball one.
They are really taking a bunt away from Carew today.
Yes. Molitor's camped on that grass. He's way in there. Sweeps in a little more as the pitch is just low. 2 balls and no strikes. We're looking at behind Paul Molitor, number 4 there, the third baseman. We'll watch the pitch here from this position. See Paul set himself now and lean in as the pitch is taken. And Rod Carew now, who walked his first time up, has gone to 3 balls and no strikes with Moose Haas. Born in Panama. Rod Carew. That pitch is on the corner. It's 3-1. Reggie Jackson waiting on deck. Third scheduled hitter. That's from the camera up on the roof. And it's 3 balls and 2 strikes. Second time, I believe, that he's gone to 3-2.
Look like Carew is taking all the way on that pitch. They're trying to get some people on base.
His fastball has pretty good run in it.
Good live fastball.
Walked him. So Carew, for the second time in the ball game, walks to first base, and it brings up Reggie Jackson. And Haas struck him out back in the first inning to end the inning. The last 5 trips to the plate, Reggie has struck out 4 times. Fussing around at the batter's box. Now he's ready. 1 out, and Carew on first base. And he is not ready. Strike. Had the feel it was Reggie was fidgeting around in the batter's box, and he was loading up to unwind. Haas gave him a great pitch.
This is a big batter for Moose Haas. You have the situation where you could have a first and third situation.
Ball is hit high and deep to center. Gorman Thomas to the warning track. The wind holds it up, and he makes the catch. Yesterday, that ball's out of the ballpark.
Easily.
Without a doubt, Reggie got it all. I think that little extra rigmarole he went through at the start of it was to get his concentration right. We saw the first time up that he wanted to lay off, told himself to lay off the high pitch. Reggie don't like being 2 for 11 in this series. Now 2 for 12, and there's the wind that kept the ball in the ballpark, and there's no doubt that it would have been gone. And we'll hear from Reggie before it's over with.
Moose taking a deep breath after he got Jackson for the second out, and will pitch now to Fred Lidd, who's 7 for 12. Carew on first. Out with a strike.
That's a situation when a guy hits the ball very well off you that, to me, buoys my confidence, because I made a bad pitch. Ball was hit where it should be, 3-2, yet the ball stayed in the ballpark, and I think it gives you enough confidence where you go after the hitters a little bit more and try to stay away from those situations where you keep falling behind.
Breaking pitch is in there for 2 strikes.
Looks like a straight changeup, which is Moose Haas' 4th pitch, but a pitch that he's trying to come up with because he feels that it will make his fastball more effective. Anytime you can throw a pitch off your fastball that looks similar, it gives the hitter another pitch to look for. And as we said, Moose is only 26, and his career is ahead of him. He could be a fine pitcher because he's got an outstanding arm.
A Two-strike count on Lynn. 2 out. And he's outside with the fastball.
I don't think there's any doubt about the confidence factor there, especially if you're the one with the 3 runs on board.
Lynn pops it in the air. Gorman Thomas moving over to right center. Charlie Moore is over there, and Thomas makes the catch. Looked like Charlie wanted it, but Gorman stayed with it. They bumped slightly, and the inning is over. California stands Rod Carew trailing 3-0.
Jim Lampley again in New York. In South Bend, Notre Dame is trying to get revenge for last year's 37-15 loss in Miami. A Blair Keel touchdown run at 7-0 at halftime. In Dallas, it's 7-7. 63-yard touchdown run for Oklahoma freshman Marcus Dupree. Brewer to Herky Walls for 8 yards for the Longhorns. Now back to Milwaukee's County Stadium.
And here our score, 3-0. The Milwaukee Brewers leading the California Angels in NCAA football scheduled for this afternoon. The baseball game delayed 2 hours by rain. And if time allows, we will go to any one of those regional telecasts that we can for college football. In the meantime, keep you up to date on what's going on. It's the home half of the 4th inning now for Gorman Thomas, Don Money, and Mark Brohart against Tommy John.
An interesting parallel is that if you go back to Tuesday's night's ball game, Tommy John had given up 3 runs, yet his team has scored 5, and it just adds a lot of pressure to a guy like to any pitcher, really, when you're behind and you don't have your stuff, you don't have your control. And as we've said many times, Tommy John is a control pitcher, and he seems to be struggling a little bit.
Pins that one in for a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. He struck out Gorman Thomas back in the 2nd inning. The official declaration on the rain delay is 1 hour and 44 minutes. But on the clock, the standpoint of getting things going is closer to 2 hours. 1:44 delay. 3 balls and 1 strike now to Gorman Thomas. One would expect if this one is where he can reach it, he might take a whack at it. Can't reach it. High and away.
No, he had no shot at getting a swing at that one. That was just too far away. Gorman is 1 for 10 in the series, 1 for 11 now. And he looked like he was going to swing at that pitch if he could reach it, but it was just too far out of the strike zone.
4th walk from Tommy John. The batter is Don Money. Don involved in the 3-run outburst in the bottom of the 2nd inning for Milwaukee.
The thing that I question in the scenario of Tommy John pitching today versus maybe that extra day with the rest is Tommy John has said that he's always been successful in other years when he's pitched with only 3 days rest. But as a pitcher, I realize that a lot of times if you pitch all year with 5 or 6 days, when you come back with only 3, your arm doesn't know that. It's a lot of times tough to disassociate the arm from the brain. So maybe this is why he's struggling a little bit today.
Bob Boone calls time and goes to the mound to talk with him as he falls behind the Don Money. 2 balls and no strikes. This is the 4th successive inning that the Milwaukee Brewers have had their leadoff man aboard. He walked Molitor to lead the game. He walked Simmons in the 2nd inning, who eventually scored. And Molitor got aboard on DeCense's error in the 3rd. So the Brewers are getting the leadoff people aboard.
Gorman Thomas can run a little bit. And there he goes.
To the hole, left field, base hit. Thomas turns 2nd, goes to 3rd. Runners on the corner and nobody out.
That ordinarily would have been a double play ball. It's just the fact that Gorman took off with the pitch. A hit and run play executed perfectly. There he goes. The pitch, the ground ball, going through the hole, vacated by Foley to cover the bag. And it worked excellently, and what a beautiful play when it does work.
And Dave Goetz is up in the California bullpen. You can see that Foley, as Earl said, had left his position to cover the bag, and there's the right-hander warming up. And you got more trouble for Tommy John and the Angels now. As Bowman Thomas is at third with nobody out. Don Money is at first, and here is Mark Brohard, and Tom Morgan goes out onto the field to visit with Tommy John.
I'll tell you, Tommy John hasn't been hit that hard in this ball game. He's down 3-0, men on first and third, nobody out, but that really was a double play ball, and the kind of ball that Tommy John would want Money to hit. It would have been directly at the shortstop had Gorman Thomas not been running on the play. And again, a 3-run lead allows you to do things like that.
25 balls and 32 strikes so far on the 57 pitches that Tommy John has thrown to the plate. On Thursday, after too close to comfort, Richard Crenna and Patty Duke Aston return to television. In a new family comedy, It Takes Two. You'll get an hour of laughs Thursday at 9, 8 Central and Mountain. Mark Brohard with the infield up for California. And Brohard, a single up the middle that started that merry-go-round back in the bottom of the second inning, in which the Angels committed 2 throwing errors and 3 runs scored. That's Thomas on third and Money on first. Over the mound, play to the plate. They get him. Thomas shaken up in the collision with Boone. Gets up slowly as he hit hard, rolled over. And coming in, Foley decided to go to the plate because Thomas was going on contact from third.
Gene Mauch had his infield positions perfectly. I think if the ball would have been hit hard, they'd have tried to go for the double play and get out of the inning. But there was no chance for a double play. Foley went over just like a veteran. A good pickup by Boone, and Thomas is out a pretty good way.
Gorman's lucky he doesn't come out of there with a hurt.
It didn't look like he had his mind made up which way he wanted to go and change directions, and that is how you can get hurt in a slide.
I remember turning a foot around. A very similar play at one time. 1 out. Runners now at second and first for Charlie Moore. Ball gets away. Runners move up. So Tommy John really is struggling.
Yes, he is. And as much as Jim Palmer hates for me to have a man intentionally walk, I think I might give it a shot here just so I could play my infield back in a situation and not let a ground ball, another run come in on a ground ball.
That is the second wild pitch charged to Tommy John in the ball game. It happened in the second inning when Milwaukee scored. It's 3 runs. Moved the runners up.
I kind of have to agree with you. I think with Jim Gantner, a left-handed hitter on deck, and the fact that you're already down 3 runs, you almost have to walk Charlie Moore, but I don't believe they're going to. Unusual, mainly because Tommy John's not a strikeout type of pitcher, and
that ball bounces away from Bob Boone as it came in very low, but Boone holds it close enough.
John's not going to try to give him a good pitch here, and you take the chance to throw in one away. What about when I let you pitch around some hitters? Do you feel that there's a good chance of throwing a wild pitch in a situation like that?
not really. I think it depends on what kind of pitches you're throwing. I think as an overhand pitcher, the only time I worry about it, especially with excellent defensive catchers we have in our ball club in Joe Nolan and Rick Dempsey, a curveball that I might bounce would be the only pitch. And here's the intentional walk.
Well, I think Harvey Keene's, Gene Mauch is saying, let's don't take no chances now. I think you'll see the infield probably positioned where it was when they got the man at home plate. So if the ball is hit slowly, they do have a chance to throw the runner out at home plate. If it's hit hard, they'll go for the 2.
That intentional pass to Charlie Moore is the 5th walk charged to Tommy John in the ball game, and that is wholly and totally unlike him.
They're about 3/4. That's exactly what they're going to do. And remember that base on balls does create a forced play at the plate.
And the only out that they have had in the inning was at the plate. And with the crowd roaring now, with Gantner coming to the plate, Bob Boone goes out to the mound to break the tension a little bit. Gantner is hitless so far in the series. And since this is a game that lives with the law of averages, you see, 0-11, he may be due, as they say.
Well, I think it's something that Gene had to try. Gene Mauch had to try at this time to base on balls. And I honestly feel right now, whether he gets Gantner out or not, that this might be the last hitter that he faces.
He's only allowed, or has been touched for 3 base hits. Dave Goltz now apparently is warmed up. He's watching from the bullpen. 1 out, the bases loaded. John pitches to Gantner, swings and fouls it at the plate. Strike 1.
Not much you can do here but go after him, challenge him, and hope that if he does hit a hard ground ball, that it goes at someone.
Sensei off the edge of the grass at third. Carew off the edge of the grass at first. Shortstop and second baseman, 3/4 depth. The bunt foul. Base runner at third is Money. Base runner at second, Brohart. Base runner at first, Moore.
I would suspect that that was more or less a safety squeeze. He was trying to get that ball in between the pitcher and the first baseman, and if he did, it would have given the runner at third a good chance to score.
Runner at third coming on contact, after contact, not a suicide squeeze. That pitch comes to the backstop. The third wild pitch by Tommy John. The run scores. Money coming in from third. It is 4-0 Milwaukee. That is the third wild pitch of the game, charged against Tommy John. And it goes into the book as a championship series record. Previous record having been 2 in both the National and the American League.
And here it looks like a breaking ball. Not much Bob Boone can do. Of course, with the newer type of gloves, you kind of try to block with one hand. A lot of catchers would try to get in front of that ball if possible. Tough play, though.
2 wild pitches. One moving them up, and the other one bringing them home, and Gantner slices the ball into left field. And Brohart scores from third. And it is 5-0 Milwaukee.
The intentional base on balls went right out the window with the wild pitch. The infield had to come up, and it's only speculation as to whether Foley could have gotten that ball if he were back. I honestly don't think he could have.
So the wall is close to falling. In fact, it has fallen for Tommy John. Gene Mauch is on his way to the mound, and you're almost positive here that he has the hook. He's got to. That's his second trip. Morgan went out before to talk to him. Mauch came out. Now Gene's back. And it'll be Dave Goltz, the big right-hander, who came over from the Dodgers. But Tommy John trying to come after 3 days of rest. He's unable to do it. Milwaukee leading 5-0, and time is up. Tommy John entering the California dugout. Goes 3 into third innings. And Dave Goltz will now come on in relief of Tommy John. 3 wild pitches, 67 pitches to the plate, 31 of them balls, 36 of them strikes. And he leaves trailing by a score of 5-0. Dave Goltz and Bob Boone talking on the mound. The umpire Steve Palermo there with him. So now the big right-hander out of Minnesota will warm up for the California Angels. And the Milwaukee Brewers trying to take it to the limit as they lead 5-0. Dave Goltz, who came over as a free agent from the Minnesota Twins to the Los Angeles Dodgers for a lot of money, failed with the Dodgers. Simply put, that's exactly what happened. He failed. He had virtually no success. And there was a lot of noise about it. Then, let go by the Dodgers, came over to the Angels. And now, this conversation with him.
Your sales job, and I think that's really what you did. A masterful sales job on Dave Goetz.
Dave Goetz was a quality pitcher for me, and I think that in Minnesota, he won 20 games for me one year. I wasn't selling anything, but the truth, when a man has success with you, he's comfortable, and you're comfortable with him, and I think that has a tendency to bring out the best in people.
That comment from Gene Malk earlier today as I visited with him in the dugout about this big right-hander. And he's been an outstanding pitcher for him. He's 8-5. He's worked as a starter. He's worked as a middleman, long relief. And he gets the call here in Milwaukee in Game 4 of the championship series. So while he's warming up, those of you expecting to see college football at 3:30 Eastern Time, this game delayed by an hour and 44 minutes, officially by rain. And as soon as this game is done, we'll be switching off to our regional coverage, and at the end of this half inning, we'll update scores for you from our New York studio. So now Goetz is in, warmed up and ready to go to pitch to the top of the order with one out. Paul Molitor, Robin Yount, and Cecil Cooper. Charlie Moore back to third.
I don't think it was a missed sign. I think that that's exactly what he wanted to do, is just running back a little.
Jim Gettner, he got his first base hit of the series. The delivery of a run is on first base, and the first pitch by Goetz to Molitor is a ball.
I think here Paul Molitor, who goes to right field so well, if he hits the ball to the right side with one out, they can set up a double play. Unless he gets a hanging breaking ball, I think he's going to hit any hard pitch that Goetz throws the other way.
Gettner goes. Ball is hit to the shortstop Foley. No play at the plate. Throw across to first base to get Molitor. But Charlie Moore comes in from third, and it is a 6-0 Milwaukee lead.
And again, the fact that they started the runner on the hit and run, avoided a double play and allowed Milwaukee to get another run.
Well, these are the things you can do when you're ahead in the score, and 5-0 lead, you can afford to gamble. You can be aggressive. You can take that extra base. That's really a chancy play.
I think the situation called for it, and it did pay off.
Goetz curveball misses to Robin Yount for ball one.
You're so right, though, about with the lead. A manager doesn't hesitate to put on plays in that situation.
Just inside the Yount.
I talked to Dave Goetz during the World Series last year, Keith, and as you said, he did fail with the Dodgers. He said he had lost his confidence. And early this year, he started a game for the Angels in Baltimore against us, and was throwing the ball somewhere in the 90-mile-per-hour range. And I was surprised he could still throw that hard. I figured maybe it hurt his arm, or maybe it had an injury. So as you said, he's come back, and he's got a good fastball. He's got or at least had a knuckle curveball when he was with Minnesota that was very effective. I don't think it's quite effective in the National League because of the lower strike zone, but he uses that on occasion, and he has a slider that is very effective against right-handed hitters.
Robin Yount at the plate with 3 balls and no strikes, and the crowd chanting behind him MVP. Looks at his low. Yount gets a free pass to first base. And that is the 6th Brewer to be walked to first. And here comes Cecil Cooper.
Milwaukee still only has 4 hits in a ball game, so they haven't hit the ball that hard, but they have been effective in the hit and runs and situations where they had to get the hit.
Plus 2 errors and 3 wild pitches. Two down. Cooper's up with 2 on. And he lifts it out into center field for Fred Lynn. Eyeballs it and finally gets a range on it as the wind continues to blow in, making the catch for the 3rd out. But it's another big inning for the Milwaukee Brewers as they take a 6-0 lead over the California Angels after 4. And now let's join Jim Lampley. All right, Jimmy, thank you very much. And I'll tell you, a lot of folks around Wisconsin talking about that Wisconsin Badger Ohio State Buckeye game today. They are so hungry for a win up here over Ohio State. It has been forever since they beat them. Coming up right after our baseball game is done, whatever is left of those regional football games there, the big one being undefeated Washington top-ranked against California. For the California Angels, it is Don Baylor to lead off in the top of the 5th inning with DeSensei and Grich to follow. Milwaukee leading by a score of 6-0. And if the Brewers hold on and win this ball game, then we're going to play Game 5 for the American League pennant. It almost figured, though, Earl Weaver, didn't it? To me, as Baylor was a high fly ball lifted up in the air. Gorman Thomas drifted. You see how much the wind is moving it. Gorman had it, but then he still wound up having to move about 25 feet before he could make the catch.
I'm not much of a believer in home field advantage, but the crowds in both ballparks have been fantastic, and the cheering and the hollering must make the adrenaline flow in the ball players.
The last 3 putouts for the California Angels have been to center field, Gorman Thomas. Now it's Doug DeSensei, and Doug struck out swinging against Moose Haas his first time up.
Well, you can talk about home field advantage. You can talk about crowds. It seems to me the most important thing is that the Brewer pitchers are getting out the Angels hitters, something they could not do in the first 2 ball games.
Moose is in with a strike. I don't know. I've always felt by being at home, sleeping in your own bed and eating your own food and going about your normal routine is probably the biggest part of being at home.
Only if the fans like you.
Well, that's true, too.
No, I mean...
That ball is pulled down toward the corner. It is foul.
For a couple of years in Baltimore, I was not always in favor by the fans, and I really look forward to pitching on the road sometimes. I think I relax a little bit more.
But, you know, Jimmy, some ball players say they concentrate better on the road. Because they don't have to... There's Amina Lee Mock, Gene's wife. They don't have to take out the garbage. Wife doesn't yell at them. I'm kidding.
Well, Rick Dempsey, our catcher, almost got a phobia about hitting in our ballpark.
That's a high pop. Cooper coming in. They run together. He's safe. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can. And there's that home crowd. They were screaming so loud when the ball went up, and this happens so much that both ball players are hollering at the same time, and because of the crowd, they can't hear one another. It's the pitcher's job to run in there and scream as loud as he could, and I couldn't tell whether Haas was helping out or not, but someone has to holler as loud as they can, and in this situation, it didn't look like either one of them heard each other.
Well, I'll tell you, here's a tough error. This is a tough error, and they're going to give it to Cecil Cooper.
I wonder why.
Here's the pitch to Bobby Grich.
How do you determine who would get that error?
I don't know. Just pick one.
Other than the fact I think Molitor was kind of under the ball calling for it, and maybe they felt that Cecil interceded into the...
In those strikes. Well, Moose had come down off the mound and had been a little more demonstrative, perhaps, in picking out the man to make the catch. He could have solved it.
On many occasions, I've seen the good fielding pitchers like Jim Cott, people like that, will come off and actually take the fielder that's going to interfere and stop it, move him off to the side. But I've always felt if I did that, then nobody would catch the ball.
Apparently, Haas shaken a little bit by what has just happened. Falls behind to Bobby Grich. 3 balls and no strikes. Cooper and Molitor run together. A little pop up to the infield, and the ball drops. Doug DeSensei is on first base. The error charged to Cooper, and the pitch to Grich. He walks him.
And right there is the quickest way to get yourself in trouble. Start putting people on base.
Brings up Tim Foley. If you want contact, this is the man you'd like to have up there, and he has been so responsive the way Gene Mauch has played this season. But he calls big ball at the top, in the middle, and a little ball at the bottom. Run and hit and run, sacrifice, move them around. One out, and Foley hits it up in the air. It's going to settle foul. Out of play in the stands.
Definitely a clutch hitter. We said that in the first game.
We're in the top of the 5th inning. And California still has no hits in the ball game. I had to mention it because it's a fact. That's fouled away. Earl Weaver almost fell off the chair when I mentioned it.
Not really. I know that is what you have to do. I don't know about you, Jim. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm sure that Moose Haas knows he hasn't given up any hits. But a lot of times, I've never thought about a no-hitter till you get in the 6th, 7th inning. And right now, of course, his job is to get out of this jam. And no-hitters are wonderful, but he's got to throw some strikes and make a good pitch here, 0-2.
Just outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Tim Foley. The base runners are Doug DeCinces at second base as a result of a misplay by the Brewers in the infield as Molitor and Cooper ran together, and Bobby Grich, who walked. Baylor led the inning with a fly ball to center field. Milwaukee leading 6-0. California trying to get something started as that pitch is up around the bill of the cap. And it's 2-2. This being the 5th inning, making an official game if the rain starts to come down again. Remember, Gene Mauch wanted a guarantee of 9 innings. Moose Haas delivers and strikes out Tim Foley. And he threw him a dandy pitch to get him.
Well, he still has command of his pitches. Here you'll see a slider that Foley just can't get to. He tried that 0-2 and missed. Went up with a high fastball, which Foley held his swing on, and then made a perfect pitch with his slider.
And that is the 5th strikeout for Moose Haas and the 2nd out of the inning. And here's Bob Boone. Telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. The Moose, 26 years of age. Trying to get the 3rd out. Bob Boone here in the top of the 5th inning. He's up for that one, 1-1.
Even though it will be a complete game as soon as they get the next out, it doesn't lift much responsibility from the umpire because certainly, as you said, Gene Mauch won it 9 innings. Up to this point, it would have been the fact that Milwaukee ahead before a complete game would have more or less they had to keep it going for Milwaukee. Now, once we pass the top of the 5th inning, they'll have to keep it going for California.
6-4-1, the line for Milwaukee. 0-0-3, the line for California. Boone fouls it away. Cheated off the end of the bat as he was way out in front of it.
Well, they're basically throwing Bob. They're trying to throw him fastballs in on his fist and then go away with a breaking ball. He's a much better fastball hitter, and the balls he's hit well in this series have been fastballs in the middle of the plate, and they're trying to stay out of that zone. There you can see the fans on their feet yelling Moose, rooting for a strikeout here.
Got it. So the California Angels still don't have a base hit in the ball game as wife Susan looks on. Milwaukee leading 6-0. Back with more after this word from our local station. Almost on cue.
What a terrible situation.
Pouring rain. We have finished 5 innings. Milwaukee is leading 6-0, and the Milwaukee crowd was standing, and they're all motioning to the heavens, and somebody heard them because it has started to pour. They have brought the tarp out on the field, and if it continues to rain hard, the game has to be stopped. Then it's going to go down as a win for the Milwaukee Brewers.
What a situation. The only thing I can say about it is 6-0 probably is a more comfortable lead than 1-0. But I know that the umpires are going to have to wait a very long time, or Lee McPhail, or whoever will make the final decision. And this is the way that field gets in an unplayable condition.
Also, keep this in mind. Now, with this delay, as they're spreading the tarp and it's raining quite hard, Moose Haas still has a no-hitter going. But if he sits over there for 15 to 20 minutes, he's got no chance coming back into the ball game, I wouldn't think.
Well, that's exactly what Moose himself said. You know, they all wanted to play if they could get in 9 innings. There was no guarantee, and he's got to stiffen up now. He said he doesn't use any hot stuff, or he doesn't use a heating pad in between, but he's worked hard, and it's going to be hard for him to come back and get loose again. What do you think, Jim?
Well, I think so, but the fact that right now I'm sure that the Brewers would settle for 5 with a 6-0 lead. I think the only people that want to play 9 innings are the Angels, and that might take that long for them to try to score 6 runs, but it's probably the hardest rain of the day at this particular time.
Yeah, no question about it. It just came down, straight down, and yet now it's eased up some. So it could be that we will be able to resume. But the tarp is laid out, and so now that's been, what, roughly 5 minutes already that Haas has been in the dugout, and it's going to be at least another 10 minutes before they're able to come back and effect a restart of the ball game.
Oh, I think they'll get it done quicker than 10. I don't think they'll have to dump the water off of the tarp that has just fallen on it. I don't think there was that much. It did come down very hard, but I don't think they'll have to bring that tarp all the way to the outfield.
Well, the rain is now let up, Earl, and now here's that ground screw. Those guys have run about 7 miles already today, running back and forth, pulling that thing on and off. So it looks like they're going to try to scoop it right back off the field and get on with it one more time. Tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time here on ABC, the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals will try to play game number 2 of the National League Championship Series. They've been rained out twice in St. Louis. They lost the opener, and was in that particular case, Atlanta was particularly disappointed because Phil Niekro had a 1-0 lead when that one was washed out after 4.5 innings. They played the next day. St. Louis won at 7-0, and then last night they rained out again. So we've got a considerable storm front that's bumping around through the plains and the midwestern part of the country. So while we're waiting here on seeing what's going to happen with the rain, we're in a delay again. Let's check in with Jim Lampley. That's if and when we finish this game, Jimmy. It's kind of interesting that Joe Morrison's New Mexico Lobos went into that ball game undefeated against Lavelle Edwards BYU Cougars, and you can see the Cougars are laying it on the Lobos pretty well out in the mountain country. Well, they pulled the tarp out, put it over the infield, rolled it back off the infield. The crew's standing out there holding the thing, and Lee McPhail and the umpires have had a conversation, and it looks to me like, from what I can tell from where I'm sitting, that it has stopped raining, maybe a little mist still falling, and we're just simply sitting here waiting like you to see what disposition will be forthcoming from the president's box down there.
Lee McPhail went into the Milwaukee dugout, and there's possibly a phone that he can contact the Weather Bureau. They might be able to get a hold of the Weather Bureau and look for just a little help as to whether to leave that tarp on for a while or to take it off right now and get some more of this ball game in.
I would think the weatherman would prefer anonymity, the one who is being consulted so consistently on whether or not we shall proceed here.
He told him it was coming, though.
That's Bill Kunkel there, the umpire walking across the field. Well, if you're a California partisan, you're going to look now and say, hey, wait a minute. Now Kunkel is indicating that... no, he waved his arm and said, as if to say, spread it. Well, the grounds crew is going to put it down, but what he meant was take it off the field, get it off the field of play, and we're going to resume the ball game. So we're having a little trouble communicating here on exactly what we're going to do. And they're wearing out those speedsters handling the tarp out there. They're getting a day's work.
Tough situation, and no doubt about it. And it sounds like the Milwaukee fans. It sounds like to me, and I could very definitely be wrong, but they're happy this game is continuing. I think they feel that they've got it, and they want to see Moose go on and pitch that no-hitter.
Well, Ted Dawson working with us today. Let's check in with Ted now and get an update from the president of the league.
Thank you, Keith. Lee McPhail, what's the decision?
Here we are again, Ted. We're going to start again. The weather report says it's pretty good for the next hour, so hopefully we'll be all right.
How bad was it down here on the field when you decided to postpone it?
We didn't postpone it. We just temporarily stopped it.
When you brought the tarp out?
Right. Well, it was raining very hard then. We have to be concerned about saving the field, not letting the field get too wet. We want to get 9 innings in.
All right. Obviously, it's cleared up a little bit, but still it's not perfect conditions by any means.
It's not raining right now.
Lee, what results in your decision, and what makes your decision is to continue to play?
Well, we've talked about this before. Once we start, we want to play 9 innings.
Okay, and you feel the field is in good enough condition?
The field is fine, yes.
Okay, Lee McPhail, thank you very much. Let's go back up to Keith Jackson. Keith?
Okay. We got this pretty well rehearsed now, don't we? All right, we've still got a timeout. 6-0 ball game. We'll resume play in a moment. Right now, let's have a look at Cal Washington. Okay, Kirk Gowdy out in Seattle today. Looks like they've got pretty good weather out there. Dave Goetz has now come back out on the mound to start his warm-up for the California Angels, and he will warm up on the pitching mound. And they've brought out the squeegees again. They really didn't have much water to fool with, actually. So Dave Goetz coming on in relief of Tommy John, as Tommy had all kinds of troubles today. He had 3 wild pitches. Was that a final score? Wisconsin, they had a score out here on the scoreboard that Wisconsin defeated Ohio State, or is that game not yet complete? But anyway, the Wisconsin fight song being played here. As I mentioned earlier, they are so hungry for a win for the Badgers over the Buckeyes, and there was a considerable response from the crowd. So Dave Goetz is out on the mound, and the grounds crew out there working around him, literally, right under his feet as he warms up. And the California Angels, that is a final. Wisconsin beat Ohio State by a score of 6-0, so that's 3 straight losses for Ohio State and Columbus. Stanford beat them, Florida State beat them, and now Wisconsin beat them. And that looked at the beginning of the season like the team to beat in the Big Ten. And apparently it is not. For Milwaukee, as we go to the bottom of the 5th inning now, it'll be Ted Simmons, Gorman Thomas, and Don Money. Big 6-zip lead for the Brewers, trying to take this championship series to the 5th game. And weather permitting, that game is scheduled to be played tomorrow afternoon here at County Stadium in Milwaukee. It has been an arduous process of getting this one in. Guys, the crew was out here probably right around daylight. We got here about 8 o'clock this morning, along with most of the Milwaukee officials. And Lee McPhail, the president of the American League, and his people were here very early this morning. All of us pacing back and forth, watching it rain. The The game actually made it through 4.5 innings without any rain, and then a little shower stopped it for a moment, and now we have resumed it, and it looks to me like it's raining again a little bit. Not much, just a little. Yeah.
Certainly the ball players got some pressure on him, but Lee McPhail was here early, and the weather today has put some pressure on Lee McPhail also.
Two balls and one strike. The count on Ted Simmons. Ground ball to the second baseman, Bobby Grich, throws him out, one down, bottom of the 5th inning. There's Lee McPhail sitting in his box. Got a monitor down there to watch the ball game. Now it's Gorman Thomas for the Brewers. Strikeout and a walk. Pitch is inside to Dave Gholtz. The book on Tommy John, 3 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 6 runs, 4 of them earned, walked 5 and struck out 1. Gholtz jammed Thomas and backs him out of it.
And the wild pitches and walks really hurt Tommy John. As Earl said many times, the 4 hits really haven't done a whole lot of damage. It's just the walks and the wild pitches sandwiched in between.
That pitch is very high. 3 balls and no strikes to Thomas.
The rain is coming down now. Without the tarpaulin, it's the type of rain that after an inning, 2 innings, 3 innings, make it very hard to play baseball.
Thomas walks. But the point is, we do have a complete game.
Yes, we do.
Don Money.
If Milwaukee should go on and open this thing up real big, it wouldn't be quite as bad, I think, to the California players if they don't play 9. In fact, sometimes if the score gets real big, you can save a reliever or 2 before it's over, and you're in better shape tomorrow.
Inside corner, strike. Tomorrow, of course, being the day you open the cupboard. Everything comes out.
The Milwaukee players put themselves in a frame of mind yesterday just thinking about one ball game. They went home with confidence last night, thinking about and coming back today just thinking about one more. And both clubs have to do the same thing if there should be a 5th game.
Angels won the first 2 in Anaheim. Brewers won the first one here in Milwaukee yesterday. And the count now, 2 balls and a strike to Don Money.
Haas is going to have to take some extra pitches when he comes out on that mound to get loose. Base on balls already this inning, 3 balls on Money, and it's turning into a 15 or 20 minute delay in between innings.
It's going to be about 20 minutes at least.
From the time he left the mound until the time he gets back, and it might even be longer than that.
The rain delay goes in the books as 12 minutes, but that doesn't include the time of Gholtz warming up and all other things considered, getting off the field, getting back on the field and everything, so it's at least 20 minutes.
And 9 or 10 pitches to the last 2 hitters.
Yep. 3-1, the count to Don Money. Runner goes for first base. The throw by Boone. They got him dead. I mean, he was out and then some. Gorman stopped a good 12, 15 feet from the bag.
It's a hit and run, I think, that they attempted on 3-1, or maybe that run and hit that I said. If it's a good pitch, Money was going to swing at it. Money might have thought that pitch was a ball. It was in close on his hands, but it cost him a base runner.
Thomas to the dugout. Money a roller to the third baseman to Sensei. Doug throws across, and Money is out to end the inning. So we have 5 complete innings of play. And Milwaukee leading 6-0, and it'll be very interesting to see how Moose Haas fares when he returns to the mound. This and his national anthem, Miss America of 1973. I don't know, maybe she just staying at hand in case we have another stoppage. She might sing it again. Because it has been an up and down day in this joust with the elements. Now, the line score for California. No runs, no hits, 3 errors. Let's see what the delay has done to Moose Haas as he comes out to face the top of the order in Brian Downing, Rod Carew, and Reggie Jackson. 6-0 Milwaukee. Strike.
That was a hard pitch, and I'll say this, he didn't take many pitches, not more than ordinary, but he threw that ball good.
Well, at 26, and I think a noteworthy comment is the fact that when you pitch for the Brewers, you're used to long innings. You score so many runs.
1 ball and a strike was down and checked on it. Being 26 doesn't hurt either, does it, Jimmy?
And here's a high fastball that Brian Downing starts to swing at. Looked to me that the bat got out in front of home plate, which usually constitutes a strike, but Palermo quickly checked down first base umpire, and it was called a ball. And believe it or not, I don't really think that Moose Haas is thinking about no-hitter here. He's thinking about a 6-0 lead, throwing strikes, getting ahead of the hitters, which he hasn't done here, being behind 2 balls and 1 strike, and winning this ball game.
Keeping his team in the playoffs.
That's fouled straight back, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
I think the home Milwaukee ball club would settle for that right now.
When we get into the 8th inning and he's got a no-hitter going, then that's when you start thinking about it.
It is continuing to rain lightly. And it's now beginning to show up in the warning track area around the playing field.
Well, this is when the ball starts to get wet. When you hit a ground ball, it'll pick up moisture, and it's going to be hard for the infielders to throw. The infield dirt starts to get wet, and it'll stick to your cleats and create holes. And these are the conditions that I know they wanted to avoid. But when they started the game in it, it's going to happen.
It's foul back. And Downing hangs on at 3 balls and 2 strikes. That particular picture there gives you an idea that the rain is increasing now in the intensity.
Harvey Keene is glad they started it right now.
Oh, sure he is. Yes, he is. Gene Malk is steaming.
Yeah. Again, it's better 6-0 than 2-0. And here they come.
He walked him. So Downing leads off for California and gets a walk. Lee McPhail, the president of the American League, sitting there closest to the camera, is the man who made the decision to play ball.
I think I just saw the home plate umpire look at Lee McPhail, and Lee shook his head no.
Rod Carew, the hitter for California.
Which means don't stop it yet.
Well, all depends on whether Moose can hold him at bay, doesn't it?
I think that Moose should have taken a few extra warm-up pitches.
It's a little tapper down the first base line. That is a foul ball. He gets a dry baseball from the home plate umpire Palermo.
And the problem pitching, Keith, in this kind of weather is that once you've been out there for an inning or two, you cannot find a dry area on your uniform. Usually maybe the inside part of your leg, but your socks are wet. You can't dry your hand, and a lot of times, especially if you walk the first batter, you're out there where the rain's falling on your hand, and the ball just becomes a little bit more slippery and a little bit harder to throw over the plate.
Strike 1 count on Rod Carew. This is low and outside. Ball 1.
You're right about a tight strike zone. That looked pretty good pitch to me. Looked like a pretty good pitch to me.
Molitor in on the grass at third, taking the bunt away from Carew. And the pitch is outside. Rain eases up a little bit as Ted Simmons goes to the mound. I don't know if Moose slipped a little bit coming down off the mound that time, but he fell way off toward the first base side.
I think what he's going to try to do is to get them to put some diamond dust, which is the substance they They spread over the infield, which absorbs water. And I always feel that, to me, if it's going to continue to rain off and on, when you put the diamond dust on the mound, what it does is absorb the water that's falling. And maybe it clumps a little bit in your cleats, but it's better than mud. And I think that's what we're going to see them do right here. The most important thing in pitching really is your front foot, because that's the foot you kind of affects your control. And when you land and it slips a little bit, and here I think you'll see Moose just slip a little bit, see his left foot just kind of turn, and normally you don't want that to happen. It just affects your control, and instead of throwing the ball maybe 3 or 4 inches on the plate, the ball goes a little bit outside.
Trying something else in the effort to get this game in.
I've never been a mudder. Maybe it's because I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona, but a guy like Mike Flanagan, who's from New Hampshire, where I guess the weather is inclement during the spring when you play your baseball up there, has always done very well.
So we've got a timeout again here at County Stadium in Milwaukee, and let's check in quickly with Jim Lampley in New York for an update on football scores. Howard Schnellenberger's Hurricanes, They lost their great quarterback, Jim Kelly, to a shoulder separation, but Mark Richter stepped in there and is carrying him right along. And now it's raining very hard. Raining very hard. The game has been stopped again. The field crew is coming out, and they're going to put the tarp down again. Lee McPhail sitting there with Dick Butler, the American League supervisor of officials. And the two ball clubs now vacate the playing area, going back into the dugout, and the rain is pelting down with a score 6-0. Milwaukee leading California after 5 complete innings of play. Yeah. We are now again in rain delay here at County Stadium in Milwaukee. We had a very brisk little shower, and the tarp is back out on the field. The game has been stopped with Milwaukee leading 6-0 after 5 innings complete. California at bat in the top of the 6th. Let's check in now with Ted Dawson down below and see what he can tell us about the president of the American League's thoughts on this game.
Thank you very much, Keith. I just talked with Lee McPhail, and he says he's not even going to call the Weather Bureau this time. He says spent so much time on the telephone with the Weather Bureau this afternoon, and as all they keep saying is, well, it's going to be intermittent all afternoon. So that's pretty much the situation. He says we're just going to wait this one out. We're going to just pull the tarp on the field as they've done and leave it as it is. As you can see, the rain is coming down very hard here. It has come down harder earlier today, but I would say it would be very difficult to play under these circumstances. Lee McPhail says he does not want to play under these circumstances, but he's just going to wait it out. Back to you.
Angels, as the Brewers have gone back on the field, will come to the plate in the top of the 6th inning. We have a complete game that has been interrupted twice by rain. So those of you who have been watching Iowa, Indiana, welcome back to County Stadium. The rain has stopped. They've spread out the Soakum stuff, and we're going to try to play some more baseball. As Moose Haas is out on the mound for the Milwaukee Brewers, he has a no-hitter through 5 complete innings of play. In the top of the 6th inning, he has walked Brian Downing, and he will be pitching to Rod Carew. Let me recap what has happened in the ball game as to how the Milwaukee Brewers got up to a 6-0 lead. The first runs were scored in the ball game in the 2nd inning. Ted Simmons walked against Tommy John, who started for California. Gorman Thomas struck out. Don Money was then walked, the third by Tommy John. Ted Simmons, while pitched up to second base in the interim. Mark Brohard came up, hit a single that delivered Ted Simmons with the first run of the ball game. And then Fred Lynn on a throw to third base. Ball hit the back of Money going around and going into third. Got away. Another run scored. And then Doug DeCinces trying to make a desperation play at the plate threw the ball away. And when you looked up and the dust had settled, or the mud had stopped flying, whatever you want to call it, there was a 3-0 lead. And then at the bottom of the 4th inning, the Milwaukee Brewers had Gorman Thomas walk. He was then thrown out at the plate after Don Money delivered a single. 2 wild pitches by Tommy John. Mark Brohard, a fielder's choice. Charlie Moore walked. Jim Gantner then singled. And that's That's how they got the second batch of 3 runs. As our game resumes with Moose Haas on the mound, pitching to Rod Carew. The count on Rod Carew now, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And we saw Rodney take the pitch there, hoping that he would be ball 3 after about a 15-20-minute delay.
That's sucked foul down into the left field area in the corner by Rod Carew, and the count holds at 2-2. If Moose Haas comes on out here and goes the distance, Jim, he's got to qualify as having the most resilient arm that I've ever seen.
Well, the only arm problem he's had, which we talked about earlier, was the elbow problems, and that's like 3 or 4 years ago. He said he's going to work real hard on his arm with some exercises this next winter, because mainly he doesn't feel his arm is really as strong as he can, but it sure is resilient.
We were an hour and 44 minutes late getting started. We had a 12-minute rain delay, and you add another 10 minutes to that by the time they finally got it going, and now he's had another 12 or 14 and 19-minute rain delay. So add to that again the process of getting ready to pitch, and you probably have got another. Oh, look out for this one. Gorman Thomas comes in. Wynn holds it up there for him, and he makes the catch. So Moose Haas, having walked Brian Downing, gets Rod Carew to lift a short fly ball to center field with Gorman Thomas for the first out, and now here is Reggie Jackson. There's never been a no-hitter in the League Championship Series. Don Larson's perfect game in the World Series stands alone.
And the wind hasn't let up. The wind seems to be blowing harder now than it was at the start of the ball game.
Blowing right into the hitters' faces.
I guess there would be a temptation on a manager's part. I know I'd feel it, that I might get somebody from my bullpen up when Moose came out this time. But Harvey probably talked to him, and if Moose...
Well, he did have Jim Slayton up throwing, so he's probably thinking the same way you are.
Hard shot. Cecil Cooper, second for 1, back to first. Yount throws it away, goes into the dugout. Ball was slick. Hit that grass. Cooper made a good throw to Yount, but Robin never seemed to get a good grip on the ball. He also seemed to slip a little bit as he stepped in to tag the bag, had nothing on it, and the ball goes into the dugout. And so Reggie Jackson's down at second base.
And you'll see Moose Haas is a little bit late getting over to the bag. He should be already standing there. If he is, he can come off the bag and make that play. That slight hesitation caused, it wasn't a good throw by any means, but if you have your feet set, especially on a slippery infield, you might be able to come off the bag and anticipate the wild throw.
And it keeps the runner at first base also. But the playing conditions on the infield now are not good. I have to say that. There's been enough rain to make the dirt heavy again. And it's just not like playing on a dry field.
Freddie Lynn is the batter with 2 out. There goes your no-hitter. It'll go right down into the corner, and Reggie Jackson will turn third and come to score. And Charlie Moore having trouble getting a handle on it down in the corner, and Freddie Lynn breaks up the no-hitter with a double into the right field corner. California's on the board. It is now 6-1.
And they can come back in a hurry, and the right fielder fell down. His feet went out from under him when he was on the warning track, and the conditions are not good. I'm repeating myself, but again, it's wet out there, and this is the type of conditions that can allow a team to come back quickly. We had one in Kansas City on the artificial turf, Jim, one time, if you can remember that ball game.
I was pitching that game.
All right, you saw the replay of Charlie Moore's troubles in the right field corner, and now Don Baylor is the hitter, and Moose Haas, with his no-hitter gone, delivers low inside to Baylor for ball 1.
There's more runs in this game than there are hits.
Milwaukee 6 runs on 4 hits. California 1 run on 1 hit. Baylor fouls it back. Jim Slayton is up in the Milwaukee bullpen, right-hander. Miracle that Moose has been able to keep as much concentration as he has, the way this thing's been interrupted by the rain. This is game 4 of the American League Championship Series. If Milwaukee can hang on to the lead and win it, we'll go to game 5 tomorrow afternoon here, weather permitting. And the count now to Don Baylor, 2 balls and 1 strike.
Looks to me like Moose is giving, right now, giving as much as he has as long as he can. And I think that's what...
Well, that goes back to what we said before. He wasn't thinking about the no-hitter. He's thinking about the win. And that's the most important thing right now. And again, to do that, you have to throw strikes. You got to get a couple of breaks. But most of all, you got to throw the ball over the plate. And the pitch that Freddie Lynn hit, again, it was his 8th hit of the series. So it's not like you gave up a hit to somebody that's not hot. It was a pretty good breaking ball. He just got a little bit in and down. And Freddie, as we saw in the first game, where he homered on a curveball, can hit that kind of pitch.
Lynn is on second. Reggie Jackson has scored. 6-1 Milwaukee. Don Baylor with a 2-2 count. Pops him up. That should carry to the outfield. It is Charlie Moore in right field, making the catch to retire the side. So the California Angels punch through against Moose Hogg, get their first run, get their first hit, and Milwaukee leads in the middle of the 6-1, 6-1. Monday. All of this on Monday. Now, I've been reading this for 4 or 5 days, and it still says that That's Incredible has a feature on a woman who's had 51 children. And I still don't believe it. You'll have to watch and see, I reckon. Burt Reynolds, Candace Bergen, and Joe Clayburgh starting over. Network television premiere on the Monday Night Movie. 8, 7 Central, and Mountain. Kind of at the point in this ball game where I don't believe some of the things that are going on. Here's Mark Brohart standing up there for the Milwaukee Brewers. Bottom third of the order. Charlie Moore will follow with him. Jim Gantner. And Dave Goetz is out on the mound. The Brewers at bat, bottom of the 6th inning, and leading 6-1. 2 balls, no strikes.
Has done his job, as we said yesterday, when a long reliever comes in. He wants to try to keep his club close or not give up any other runs. And there's ball 3 inside. You see that running fastball. Just a fastball that's thrown 3/4 and runs in on the right-handers.
Ricochets off to Sensei, rolls down under the tarp, and it'll be 2 bases. The ball rolls under the top, and Fan reached over, I think, maybe, and got a hold of it as well as he climbed out on the pipe there. So it'll be 2 bases for Brohart. So Mark makes his first appearance in the championship series, and he's doing all right. He's had a single, an RBI, scored 2 runs, on base again.
Gene Mock thinks that the Sensei or Downing might have been able to get the ball and hold him to a single on fan interference. Now, the umpire signals by grabbing his wrist and raising it over his head. Now the home plate umpire, according to the rule book, places the runner where, in his judgment, he thinks he would have made it. Now, myself, I think he would have wound up at second base on the play, but Downing first came after the left field umpire, and now Mock is arguing that the man should be placed back at first base.
Well, that's the second instance of fan interference we have had. Yesterday, one leaned over the rail in left field and took the ball out of Ben Ogilvy's glove. Bob Boone wound up with a solo home run. Here, the Brewers benefit as there's interference as the ball comes down and ricochets off Doug DeCinces, then rolls over toward the tarp and looked for a moment as if it might go underneath it, but it didn't. You see the fellow coming there over, and he's lucky he didn't go and wind up on his head in the mud. Gene is persisting in the argument with Steve Palermo that Brohart should be held at first base, but it is totally a judgment call by the umpire. And the umpire involved in making the call is the man who was involved in the call yesterday, Larry Barnett. But it's Palermo now, who's the home plate umpire, who is in the conversation with Gene Moore.
Larry Barnett calls the fan interference. He runs down and sees if that fan actually did. We've seen it. Then it's up to the home plate umpire to place the runner because he has the whole field in front of him.
Well, Gene surrenders and goes back into the dugout. Brohart stays at second base, and Charlie Moore stands in.
Again, with a 6-1 lead, you still want to advance that runner, try to get another run to the scoreboard. It makes the game a lot easier, and we'll see if Charlie Moore tries to do that, either by hitting the ball to the right side or bunting. Two of the things that he can do very well.
Oates came inside with a pitch and got a called strike. There's your bunt. Runner will move up. It's a good bunt. LaRue comes in, makes the play, and throws over to Bobby Grich, covering at first base for the first out.
And that's why my sparring partner is going to make a good manager someday if he wants to.
You see from the overhead camera, just more squaring around. Brew making a nice play, and Bobby Grich covering from second base over to first base.
And the batter now is Jim Gantner, who broke through in his last at-bat and delivered the base hit to knock in a run into left field.
And the California infield is forced into the situation of coming up and trying to cut that runoff at home plate.
With one out. Oates gets a strike.
This is another long inning for Moose Haas to be sitting there.
Good. Slayton has been up in the Milwaukee pen. That's fouled away, out of play. Molitor on deck, the top of the order.
I believe Harvey Keene would like to save his bullpen if he possibly can, but he's certainly not going to wait long and let California get back in the game later on.
Two-strike pitch to Gantner. As Brohart comes off the bag at third, and Gantner, defending on the pitch, fouls it away.
Well, that was a high and tight fastball. I think you wanted to strike out Jim Gantner, you'd want to come up and in, but basically the book that we've always used in Baltimore is to try to keep the ball down. He just doesn't seem to get to the ball. He hits the ground ball. Of course, here, if he does hit a ground ball, with the infield in, you just hope it's at somebody. It's a tough situation for Goltz because there's not a whole lot of room for error on a grounder. It's got to be at the infielder.
I think he should go away from the book, or at least our book, and try to get the strikeout because we got him out by making him hit ground balls. A ground ball is dangerous right here.
Dave's going to take some dirt out of the spikes. I don't see any rain falling at the moment, but it's a bit sticky. They have spread that substance around that absorbs water. What'd you call it? Diamond dust? And
I think that's what it's called. I mean, that will suffice because it's a lot of times, and I'm sure tomorrow they'll probably mix some of that in with the infield dirt, and they rake it in, and Pat Sandrock could tell us exactly, but
that's exactly right. Danny Whitweiler invented the first calcinine clay substance.
That's foul back.
And Danny was an outfielder, played for the St. Louis Cardinals when I was a kid in St. Louis. And went a season without making an error, just as Downing did.
He was very much involved in the resurgence of college baseball, too, because he was a coach down at Florida State for a while. And at Michigan State for many years. So Danny has made his mark in many ways. Here's the pitch, and Gantner loops it down the left field line. It is a foul ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Jim Gantner with 1 out. Mark Brewhart is over at third base, and Paul Molitor waiting to come to the plate.
And that play right there brings up an interesting point. If that ball had been in a position where Downing could have caught it, would you, as a manager, have you ever told any players to let that ball fall and not give them the extra run, or do you take the out and allow the run to score because the ball was hit far enough?
In the 6th inning, you have to take the out, I believe, Jim.
There's a base hit to right field. That'll get the run home. Single for Gantner. His second in the ball game. His second RBI. It is 7-1, Milwaukee.
And there's that ground ball that if the infield is back, which they can't afford to do right now, that ball probably would have been an out. Not too good a pitch. A fastball in the middle of the plate. Gantner's a little bit quicker. Right by Rodney Carew. You could see him diving in the corner of your picture.
No chance when you're in that tight. Molitor to the plate now with Gantner on first base, and the Brewers have resurrected their 6-run cushion.
And getting back to catching that sacrifice fly, that's exactly why you have to catch it, even though it's the 7th run, but it's still early 6th inning in the game, and you don't want to waste any more bullpen pitchers.
Pitch to Molitor. A call strike.
Situation where Milwaukee may try to stay out of the double play by moving the runners. 7-1, it's not quite as catastrophic if you get a guy thrown out or they pitch out or whatever.
They have the right combination. Gantner on first, Molitor at the plate.
1 ball and 1 strike.
We don't know how heavy that dirt is up here, though, Jim, whether it's really safe to run on or you're gambling some pulled muscles or injuries of some sort.
Fly ball. Downing, left fielder coming. Lynn, center fielder coming, and it's Lynn for the catch. As the wind moved it about 10 feet from left to center. Freddie made the catch for the second out, and the batter is Robin Yount with Gantner at first base.
With the argument that we've had this inning on the fan interference, and along with number of pitches that Goltz has thrown, it's been another long inning for Moose Haas to sit in that dugout and stiffen up.
Lost his no-hitter in the top of this inning. As California got a base hit and scored a run. The pitch to Yount, down low, ball 1. At first base because they figure he's going to go. Tommy John started with 3 1/3. Charged with 6 of the 7 runs. Pops him up. Rod Carew will have the play. Makes the catch for the 3rd out. We have worked our way through 6, Milwaukee 7, California 1. Back with more after this word from our local station.
Jim Lampley in New York. You're looking at action from the closing seconds in South Bend. Miami was leading 14-13 as Mike Johnston stepped up to try a 32-yard field goal for the Irish and nailed it to give Notre Dame a come-from-behind 16-14 victory. The Irish moved to 4-0 on the season. Now back to Keith Jackson.
Pretty exciting moment in South Bend, wasn't it? Notre Dame pulling it out on a late field goal, 16-14 over Miami. Moose Haas is back out there on the mound, and he'll be looking at Doug DeCinces, Bobby Grich, and Tim Foley. The crowd of 51,003. It's based on ticket sales, and when the game started, some have gone home. And DeCinces fouls it away down the third base line.
They're swinging at the first pitch, so they're going to try to hit him out of there rather than take or walk.
Well, you certainly would think that if Moose is fit still, that he'd just simply try to throw strikes.
Oh, definitely.
It really is, but the first pitch was a slider, so it doesn't mean he's just going to give in and throw the fastball. He's been mixing up his pitches well all afternoon.
Runner inside around the bill of the cap, and Doug DeCinces, who suffered a broken nose yesterday on a foul off the plate, bailed out.
And here you're going to see the ball just runs in, and Doug, who does stand off the plate and come towards home plate, kind of diving in a little bit, and the ball just kind of ran in towards him.
It really wasn't that close, I didn't think.
1-1.
Yeah, it's easy for you to say up here. That pitch would have been over your head, but that's all right. I mean,
here we go.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Let's go.
I'm sorry. Well, it's been a long day. I mean, what can we say?
Pops him up on the right side. Gantner, Cooper. It is Gantner with the best angle and makes a belt-buckle basket catch.
I forget what the remark was, but I remember how many days to the end of the season. It was 23, and I walked over to his locker. I said, can you just forget my name for the last 23 days of my career? And he was pretty good to me.
There's the catch. Kind of got a little white showing. He sort of fumbled that thing around a little bit, but he got a handle. Bobby Grich comes to the plate with 1 out now. Football a while ago. I ran out. I was looking for a cot, but I couldn't find one. I'll bring one tomorrow just in case if we get up and it's cloudy in the morning. Rich jumps on the first pitch, pops it up in the air, foul ground, and Simmons right to the rail for the catch. Ted Simmons goes to the railing to get it. 2 down, and Tim Foley will come up.
That was really a good play by Simmons, and this time, on the way in, as the ball was coming down, Cooper took his eyes off of the ball and checked to see if Simmons was there.
Tomorrow, Game 5, it says if necessary on the graphic, it looks like it is going to be the final game of the championship series for the American League pennant between California and Milwaukee. And we will have it for you at 4 Eastern Time, weather permitting. Moose Hobbs delivering to Foley. And he's high for ball 1. Tonight at 8 o'clock, Game 2 of the National League Championship Series. St. Louis and Atlanta. And Atlanta. And he checks and takes a strike. Looks pretty strong.
Yes, he does. So there's no reason to waste another pitcher. This will be his last appearance in the playoffs, I'm sure. I don't think he could come back tomorrow at all, do you, Jim?
No. I wouldn't risk that. And also, I mean, as you said, Keith, he does look strong. He got the first 2 outs on breaking balls, and he went 1-0 on Tim Foley and threw a good slider low and away. So, and there's another one. So he's mixing his pitches up. That's 2 times his inning he's got behind in the count. And he's kind of done what Don Sutton did yesterday and was very effective with, which is get behind the hitters and get his breaking ball over for a strike.
If we have the 5th game tomorrow, it'll be the first time since 1977. There's a line drive down the left field line. Brohard over in a hurry to pick it up, and Foley's aboard with a single. 1977, New York beat Kansas City 3 games to 2. And since that time, we have had 2 3-game sweeps and 2 4-game series. Another look at the base hit.
It was a low fastball, and he hit it pretty good.
Paul Molitor not quite tall enough. Now Bob Boone at the plate. Toss in with a strike. Outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
California certainly will not be running in any situations now, down 7-1.
Right. Coming right at him, 1-2.
breaking ball, and they pitched Bob Boone extremely well today. They struck him out on a slider, and the first pitch in this batter was a fastball right down the middle, a pretty good pitch to hit, but Boone may have been looking for the breaking ball, so they had him a little bit confused.
Fly ball lifted out toward right center. Bowman Thomas has an eye on it and makes the catch. So Moose Haas gets California in the top of the 7th. 7-1 Milwaukee. Back after this word and the message on behalf of Major League Baseball.
Forever. The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Jim Lampley again in New York. A quick look at college football. Washington leads California now 22-0 in the third quarter. UCLA and Arizona are tied up in the second quarter. Illinois held on to beat Purdue 38-34. Easton with 358 yards. Northwestern won a Big Ten game for the first time since 1977. And Oklahoma leads Texas 28-22 in the fourth. Now back to Keith Jackson.
I think that score that Jim just had there with Northwestern beating Minnesota by 10 points is one of the more startling scores in college football you're going to see this year for sure. Wow. All right, for the Milwaukee Brewers at the bottom of the 7th inning. Cecil Cooper, Ted Simmons, and Bowman Thomas. Let's, as we move along in a 7-1 ball game, start thinking in terms of tomorrow. You figure that Ben Oakley taking the day off today with bruised ribs probably will be available tomorrow. It also figures that Gene Malk is going to come with Bruce Keeson, right-handed pitcher, which would probably mean Harvey Keene wants Ogleby back, if, of course, the blistered finger on Keeson's pitching hand is sound. That's foul back. It could be that it won't be that sound, and Ken Forsch will get the call. It also figures that Harvey Keene is going to come with his big right-hander, Pete Vukovich.
And I definitely, Harvey would like to have Ogleby in the lineup against either one of the right-handed pitchers you mentioned.
The count on Cooper, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
I think today's game illustrates the human elements of this game. If there's any pitcher in baseball with the wind blowing in 25 miles per hour, rainy situations, that you wouldn't expect to walk 5 men and throw 3 wild pitch would be Tommy John. And that just shows that anytime you go out there, you never really know what's going to happen.
Rich will handle it at second base and throws out Cecil Cooper for the first out in the bottom of the 7th.
We have to remember that it was the first time that Tommy John attempted to pitch this year on 3 days rest.
First or second, but I think, again, a lot of times Tommy, who's had a tremendous success ratio doing that, maybe 2 years ago, when you get to be 39 years of age, your arm doesn't always respond. And as I said earlier, you might remember all the good games you pitched, but your arm might not, and that can cause some problems.
Ted Simmons with a strike.
That's something else I learned from him.
Bowman Thomas waiting on deck. Strike 2.
But it's a very true statement.
Probably still got 35,000 folks in the stands. We had a crowd of 51,003.
A lot of foul weather gear worn today.
A lot of them.
They come prepared.
Simmons strikes out. That's 2 down for Thomas. Audrey Keene, Harvey Keene's wife, and his mother. Harvey Keene's mother to Audrey's right. About 3 packs. They've got 2 and stuff today. Been working on it. The pitch to Thomas in there for a strike.
Did you ever chew tobacco?
Yes.
Yes. Did you enjoy it?
No. Not especially. Once in a while, sitting on the back of a fishing boat is kind of fun. Pitch for a strike. habit of it.
How about you, Earl?
I did until my teeth got bad, Jim. Was able.
I wonder if there's any connection.
I was able to give that up, and I'm just wondering how many packs I went through in the runway tonight.
It's a strike on Gorman Thomas. He strikes out, ending the inning. So Dave Goetz comes out here in the bottom of the seventh and blows the Brewers down in order. See a good fastball with a hop on it, and no question about it being a swing. And so after 7, it's 7-1 Brewers. And here at Milwaukee's County Stadium, we're trying to finish up Game 4 of the 1982 American League Championship Series with Milwaukee leading California 7-1. That'll even it up at 2 wins apiece. And the championship for the American League 1982 goes on the line in Game number 5. Brian Downing, Rod Carew, and Reggie Jackson. Moose Haas on the mound with a 2-hitter. He had a no-hitter through 5 innings.
Doesn't look tired on the screen, but he has to be feeling a little fatigue at this point.
Breaking pitch, low and away. The Orioles, your ball club, Earl and Jim, involved in the fewest hits by a pitcher in ALCS history over a 9-inning game. That was a 2-hitter by Vida Blue in Game 3 of 1974, and Jim was the loser.
1-0.
How'd I do in that game, Jim?
Didn't get me any runs. Not too good.
But in Game 4 of that same year, Baltimore pitchers Cuellar and Grimsley gave Oakland only 1 hit, but they lost the ball game 2-1 in the series.
I think that was about 11 walks or something like that in that ball game.
3 balls and 1 strike now, the count on Brian Downing. And I would imagine we might get somebody stirring around in the Milwaukee pen pretty quickly if he loses Downing. Goes forward in 3-2.
The take was on. Gene's got to try to get some base runners. A lot of hitters don't appreciate standing there watching that 3-1 pitch go by, but the manager has to put it on leading off an inning trying to get something started.
3-2 to the plate. Fouled off. Center field. Going to go through. No. Grass wet. Holds it up. Thomas hustling. Bowman shoots it back in there, and they hold Brian Downing to a single. That is the 3rd hit of the ball game for California. On a dry field, that's through to the wall.
I believe that, and it something like the field like it is now could be a deciding factor in a 1 or 2 run ball game. Right now, it's not really that important.
Also, Downing is not going to take any chances, and it's not the kind of play that Gene Walker would like to see one of his base runners thrown out at second base.
I wouldn't think so.
Rod Carew, the man with the extraordinary bat control, standing at the plate. Jim Slayton is now up in the Milwaukee bullpen. Downing off first base and Hausing with a strike. There's Slayton warming up for the 3rd time today. He appeared in Game 1.
Relievers are supposed to be able to do that, get up 3-4 times.
Ball is pretty well hit. Charlie Moore going back over his head, bounces off the wall. Brian Downing will go to 3rd, and they hold him at 3rd. It is a double for Rod Carew.
We've got a long way to go.
Now with nobody out, as you see the end of the double for Carew. Downing at 3rd, Carew at 2nd, and Brian Edmund Haas from Maryland is in a bit of a pickle. Jim Slayton probably pretty close to being ready in the bullpen. Charlie may have misread that. The wind keeps moving that ball around out there, too.
I think also, Keith, that's one of the most difficult plays for an outfielder to make, which is a ball directly over his head. You don't know which way to turn, to your right or your left. And again, as you said, the wind blowing in, you don't expect Carew to hit the ball that far, but it was a low fastball, and that's the one pitch that Rodney can really drive is the ball down in the strike zone. And it was a 1-1 count, and Moose may be losing a little bit on his fastball, and as we said, he's trying to throw strikes, and he just didn't make a very good pitch.
Reggie Jackson swings and fouls it back, and he just missed it. It was right at his wheelhouse. Maybe a fraction higher than he would have liked.
Things would really tighten up if Reggie could catch one.
Oh, come on. He doesn't even know how to spell it. One strike. Good pitch there.
But the wind's still blowing in strong. It takes an awfully well-hit ball to get out of this ballpark right now.
Here you're going to see Simmons move in, and they want it up, but the ball's down, but it's on the corner, and it's a pretty good pitch.
You think he meant to throw it there?
He meant to throw it up, because Reggie is a better low ball hitter.
Two-strike pitch is inside. Jackson on the day, a strikeout in the first inning. Fly ball to center in the fourth. Fielder's choice and scored a run. California's only run. But they're bouncing around trying to get some more now. And somebody's hat blew out onto the field. So Mark Rohart throws it back up in the stand. California with 4 base hits. Milwaukee has 6. Jackson is out looking. And he's beefing at Palermo.
We'll have to wait and see it to see if it was in there or not.
It looked like a pretty good pitch. Low and away fastball. Again, it's too close to take.
Well, you're not going to get many hits on pitches like that, Jim. My feelings are you might just as well take that pitch if it was a strike.
It's a little hot.
There it is.
Well, he hits the glove, and again, the ball is maybe a fraction outside, but the way I feel, when Steve Palermo gives you a strike, it was a strike.
Well, it was an unhittable pitch. It might have caught the front of the plate. Who can tell?
Pitch to Fred Lynn. Fred Lynn is the man that broke up his no-hitter back in the 6th inning with a double.
When you call as many pitches that have been thrown in this game, and that thing is 1 inch on the front corner of the plate or 1 inch off the front corner of the plate, I think you have to take the umpire's word. But don't tell him I said it.
No, but all his friends listening will.
That's foul back. One on Fred.
I still say it's a close ball game if they get a base hit in this situation.
Ryan Downing at third, Rod Carew at second, 1 out. A tough out at the plate. Then 8-14 in the series. Just missed.
I think really what a base hit would do here is probably maybe get a pitcher from the Brewer bullpen in the ball game, and then again, that's just one less person possibly that Harvey Keene can use tomorrow if they win today.
That's true, and you know Harvey knows that he doesn't have it in the bag because he's got Slayton up.
A 2-1 pitch. Then checks and takes it. Guess whose wife? Guess whose wife that is? Diana Haas. A little wound up.
It's a big for Moose Haas here. Here he has a 3-1 count. Do you just throw the ball for the middle of the plate and risk giving up the hit, or do you try to make a good pitch, walk Freddie Lynn, and take a chance for a grand slam that puts him right back in the game? And he missed high.
And I'd have said give in to it.
Well, I would have too, but I'm sure that's what Moose was trying to do, but you can't often do what you want, especially late in the ball game.
Well, to me, as a manager, that would show fatigue.
That's the 5th walk issued by Haas in the ball game. Molitor comes to the mound to visit with Moose. The bases now are loaded. 1 out for Don Baylor. Milwaukee 7, California 1. Neither one of these ball clubs roll over for you. Haas has thrown, listen to this, Jim. Haas has thrown 135 pitches. That's a lot. With all the interruptions.
It's very many.
Baylor hits it high in the air, left field, way back. It's gone. Grand slam home run, Baylor. That brings a lot of silence to County Stadium in Milwaukee. It is a 7-5 ball game.
That must be a record for RBIs. In a 4-game series, I'm not sure.
It's 10. My goodness, 7-5 ball game now. And Harvey Keene is at the mound. 1 pitch too late, 1 hitter too late. We'll see. Jim Slayton is going to come. It is a new American League Championship Series record. 10 RBIs. The previous record, let's see, was Reggie Jackson, 6 in 1978 in a 4-game series.
And here you're going to see the home run. Baylor hit a triple on a similar pitch as a fastball really in the middle of the plate. We said when you want to pitch to Baylor, you want to get the ball in on him, and he's a better low ball hitter than a high ball hitter, and that ball was like thigh high in the middle of the plate. Got his arms extended. An awfully strong man.
From the top. A rocket. Look at it. Right, I mean, that's into the teeth of the wind, too.
He's a strong man. Very strong man. And Donnie's the guy that told me when he came to the big leagues that he'd hit 10 to 15 home runs a year. And he wound up with 35.
Well, I think he's averaged 24 home runs a year throughout his career. And that's quite an accomplishment.
Well, I'll tell you, this ball game is not in the book yet by any measure.
Certainly isn't, and you have to wonder what the effect of not having a Raleigh Fingers does to this ball club again.
So Jim Slayton comes on, making his 2nd appearance in the championship series in relief of Moose Haas. And while he is warming up, let us switch quickly to Jim Lampley in New York and some more football score. All right, Jimmy. Jim Slayton comes on, his seasonal record reflected there, as he will pitch now to Doug DeCinces with the bases clean after Don Baylor's grand slam home run to make it a 7-5 ball game. 1 out as DeCinces steps in and hits it sharply to the third baseman Molitor. Ball throws him out, 2 down.
That was a good play, and they needed it right there. They don't want the tie and run to walk to the plate. Hard hit ground ball, a short hop. Molitor with pretty good hands. Throws him out at first.
Bobby Grich coming up. Who hit the other grand slam in American League Championship Series history? You remember, Earl?
Mike Cuellar, I believe.
High fly ball down the right field line in Minnesota that was about 50 feet foul and blew back just at the foul pole.
Strike 1 to Bobby Grich. Ball 1. 1 ball and 1 strike.
I believe that's the same year that Dave McNally hit a grand slam in the World Series. It was a pretty good year for the Oriole pitchers.
National Leaguers would be Ron Cey and Dusty Baker. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2 out. Milwaukee leading by just 2 in the top of the 8th inning. In a game that started an hour and 44 minutes late, been interrupted twice by rain. 3-1. This week with David Brinkley. Subject is the highest unemployment since the Great Depression, better than 10%. The impact of it on the November election. David's guests will include White House Chief of Staff James Baker and former Vice President Walter Mondale. That's This Week with David Brinkley tomorrow. Check your local listing. Crowd up here, rooting for Jim Slayton to get Bobby Grich, and he goes to the hands with it, and Grich fouls it off.
Go back to tension on every pitch.
And again, we're in a situation where the pitcher, you don't want to walk Bobby Grich to bring the tying run to the plate, so you're probably going to challenge him or throw a pitch you think you can throw for a strike.
Struck him out. So Jim Slayton went to the upper shelf and buzzed him to get the strikeout. And in the middle of the 8th inning, it's Milwaukee 7, California 5. Back after this message and a word from our local station. Right now, let's check in for a moment with Jack Whitaker. Marshall Edwards goes to first base to run for Don Money. Mark Brohard, who's had a fair enough day in his first start in the championship series, is at the plate. Darby Keene would like to have one more run, and Brohard comes to the plate. I suspect to move him along.
I would think so. How much better they'd feel with another run next inning.
Fouls it off. That's it, Belmont, wasn't it? Money with a single. Edwards is running. Brohard fouling off his first attempt at the sacrifice bunt. The sensei coming from third. Brohard swings. The throw is high. And for once, Bob Boone can't shoot a man down as Marshall Edwards, good speed, takes him into second base underneath the leaping Bobby Grich on the high throw.
The unexpected right there. Goltz probably wasn't even thinking about him running, concentrating on throwing a strike for the sacrifice, and there he went.
I wonder if Edwards went on his own.
I think he'd have a sign, maybe to go on any pitch he wants, but he'd have to get a sign from the dugout there.
Brohard swings. Fly ball down toward the corner. Going. It's gone. Home run, Brohard. What a debut for him.
See how Benji Ogilvy was, and he was Benji's replacement.
Brohard has singled and scored, got aboard on a fielder's choice and scored, hit a double and scored, and now is it a 2-run home run into the left field seats down in the corner, and Milwaukee's margin now goes back to 4, and Gene Mauch is at the mound.
Well, the ball, if it does carry well in this ballpark, carries well down the lines, and Goltz had 2 strikes, tried to strike him out up and in, and Brohard, who has an extremely quick bat, a good fastball hitter, really jumped on it.
Audrey Keene among the happier people in the ballpark as the Brewers jump back to a 4-run cushion, and Andy Hassler, Luis Sanchez have been warming in defense. So we're going to get a new pitcher, the third of the game. The pendulum of emotion in sports now swings heavily to Jennifer Brohard, who is so happy she doesn't know what to do, whether to cry or laugh or what. Because her man has had a day. 3 for 4, home run, single, double, 4 runs scored is a new American League Championship record, and he's knocked in 3 in his first appearance. When you can go to your reserve corps and get that kind of a hammer thrower, you got a pretty good baseball club that is pretty deep. Charlie Moore is up there right now against Luis Mercedes Sanchez. And he has developed into the stopper on this California staff coming out of the bullpen, appearing in the 46 games and posted a good tough ERA with a 7.4 one-loss record. And he's a hard thrower. Fouled away.
Very hard thrower. I guess it's been control problems in the past that might have kept him from being the #1 sharp man on any ball club.
Well, you know that Gene Mauch wants him in here, on if nothing else, to get him tuned up for tomorrow.
Well, that's a good idea. There you see a slider that's not too bad a pitch, but Charlie Moore, who basically hits the ball up the middle into right field, just goes with it, and nobody's in front of it. But as I was saying, if there's going to be a game tomorrow, it'd be nice that their #1 short man, who hasn't probably worked in 5 or 6 days, gets an inning under his belt. Doesn't really affect the short man as much as it might a long man who's not used to pitching on a daily basis.
Jimmy Gentner will come up now. Nobody out. 2 runs are in on the single by Money. Edwards running for him, and Bullhard a home run in the left field corner. 9-5, Milwaukee. And now Moore at first base with Gantner at the plate.
Wasn't a lot of strategy, but Harvey Keene pinched run Edwards. They stole a base. It eliminated the chance for a sacrifice. Bullhard was up there to sacrifice, and when he reached second, he was allowed to swing, and he hit a home run and opened this game.
Ball gets away. The runner moves up. Palermo throws it out of the ball game. Here's a look at it.
And here you see when you throw hard, the ball is really not in the dirt. It's just that when a guy has good velocity and the ball moves, which that ball did, a lot of times if you don't really get in front of it, or if the ball sails at all, it's real tough to handle. And
it'll go down as a pass ball. Advancing Charlie Moore to second. Gantner hits it sharply right down the first base line. Carew gloves it, and Moore moves over to third.
And that's exactly what Jim Gantner wanted to do, which pull the ball to the right side, get the runner to third, and now the infield's going to probably have to play in. In fact, most assuredly they will.
Just one out. Andy Hassler stays in the California pen. He was warming with Sanchez. Top of the order now for the Brewers.
We probably wouldn't see Hassler, at least I don't think so, until we got to Cooper in the batting order.
Inside, ball 1. Thing's alive, isn't it? They just keep popping around back there. Tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern time here on ABC. Atlanta and St. Louis will go after game 2 in their championship series of the National League pennant. High bouncer DeSensei holds the runner at third, whips it across. You got 2 out. Robin Yount will come up. Al Michaels, Howard Cosell, and Tom Lasorda, manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers, will be in St. Louis tonight. Again, the crowd picks up the chant MVP when Yount comes to the plate. And a good reason for it. And a year that he's had. Just missed the batting title by a point. And they sure do growl about that on the streets of Milwaukee. Coming Wednesday, Diane Cannon, the best of the good life, with a husband on the East Coast, a husband on the West Coast, a special world premiere movie called Having It All, next Wednesday at 9, 8 Central and Mountain, right after the Tales of the Golden Monkey. lifted to center field for Fred Lynn. And he makes the catch to retire the side. Fred's had a lot of putouts out there today. Brewers get 2 big runs and going to the 9th lead, 9-5. Sorry to hear that. Thank you, Jack, for the report. Tim Foley is up for the California Angels in the top of the 9th inning. Bob Boone and then Brian Downing. Gloved at third by Paul Molitor, and he throws him out. Jim Slayton needs 2 outs to make everything dead even going into the final game tomorrow in the American League Championship Series. Paul Molitor is learning his trade at third base.
He's a good athlete with a real good pair of hands, and all he has to do is be over there for a number of ball games.
Bob Boone swings on the first pitch and pops it up. The second baseman, Gentner. 2 down. Executive producer of ABC Sports, Roone Arledge. Coverage of the American League Championship Series, produced by Dennis Lewin, directed by Ken Fouts, technical director Mike Blazo, associate director Paul Hutchinson, our technical manager Sandy Sandberg, unit manager Ralph Puglisi, telecommunications Al Schmitz, assistant to the producer Morris Davenport, researcher Jerry Klein, statistician Peter Hurt. And here could be the final out. Brian Downing, inside corner for Slayton, strike 1.
Interesting parallels to last Sunday when you have one team. The Brewers are on a hot streak, 2 in a row. The California Angels have lost 2 in a row. Kind of wonder which player will step to the fore tomorrow, like Robin Yount did last Sunday to lead his team into the World Series.
And there really is no longer a Walter Mitty on either team. Everything is known about everybody, but you got to say that Brohard comes as close to a Mitty-esque performance as anybody.
Without a doubt.
Downing hits it in the air to left field. Brohard, fittingly, makes the catch. The wind got the ball to blowing it in, and he kept pursuing it, and he finally caught it falling down. I'm going to change the word. It was not Mitty-esque, it was Bunyan-esque by Brohard, as the Milwaukee Brewers have defeated the California Angels 9-5. Haas the winner, John the loser, Slayton the save, and we'll be back to sum it up in a moment. There's the line score in the ball game. 2 home runs, a grand slam by Don Baylor to get the Angels back in it, and then Brohard planted them with his 2-run shot in the 9th. And the final score, Milwaukee 9, California 5. They'll play for the pennant tomorrow afternoon at 4 Eastern Time. Coming up later tonight on ABC, we'll have Game 2 of the National League Championship Series between the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals at 8 Eastern Time. And tomorrow at 4, here we go at County Stadium. Brewers and the Angels for the American League pennant. I'm Keith Jackson along with Earl Weaver and Jim Palmer. And travel arrangements made through and promotional fee paid by United Airlines. United flies more people to Hawaii than any other airline. That's what friendly skies are all about. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports. And we will have an update on college football for you right after this word from your local stations.